Bailar?
Bailar.
Bailar. Yo bailo.
Bailo con gracia. Bailo como si no hubiera un mañana. Ahora la lengua me baila con paso.
Rosetta Stone's language learning tools may just be too immersive.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy 3 Championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy 2 and then the Prodigy 1 Championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the skies. We about to change the game. Let's go!
Time to send one more driver to Prodigy Week in 2025. From around the US, 30 drivers will be competing here today in the PRL Golden Ticket Sim Center Final Series. And welcome along to coverage powered by the Prodigy Racing League. Arjuna Kagipati joined alongside by Joey Tebben. And Joey, it's great to have you back here on the virtual broadcast booth, and very exciting that we'll get to send one more driver off to live their dream of driving a real race car.
It's a very exciting event tonight. We are going around the country, every corner of the country, every corner of North America altogether, trying to find some people that we can send off into a real race car once again. And I think this is going to be a great place to do it. Road Atlanta, a place where you have to be especially committed in the sim. If you're going to commit to a real race car, you got to be fearless in the sim too. So what better place to start out than terrifying Road Atlanta?
I saw some of the drivers. We'll take a look at them behind the wheel on Zoom just before we went live. Some of them have motion rigs, so this is going to be a roller coaster of a ride as they all compete in Porsche 911s. And Joey, what's interesting about this is, like we've said, drivers competing in person at these sim centers, but you also had to go in person to qualify. So an opportunity for those who may not have, you know, a sim at home to try and join some of the competition. But for some of the more dedicated sim racers, they've got to leave their home, adapt to a more uncomfortable sim, and get up to speed as quick as they can.
I know it's very hard for a sim racer to leave their home. They had to touch grass to participate in this event, which is a joke, but it's legitimately a different thing. You're not in your comfortable scenario. You're not like me, secretly in my actual room, not as my background wants you to believe. But you did have to leave your house, you did have to go to an unfamiliar environment, and you had to get used to a setup that maybe wasn't made for you. And if you can excel in those circumstances, that's already stepping up one step of adversity. And you need to do that if you're going to get in a real race car.
Drivers about 6 more minutes of practice left before they dive into this, our schedule for today. All starting with qualifying, 2 laps solo, splitting them up into their 3 respective heats. And from there, 5 advanced automatically. The rest they go through what can only be described as the battleground of an LCQ. 15 enter, 5 advance, and it means 20, I believe, to compete in our final. Now, Joey, we called out the sim centers, 16 of them around the country. Here's a look at those locations around the US.
Basically every corner, as I said. You can even go up to Alberta in Canada, up at Driver Motorsports. 2 California locations, San Ramon in the Bay Area, Woodland Hills just outside of Los Angeles, locations down in Texas, all up the eastern seaboard from North Jersey to North Georgia. a second location as well in Canada, a little bit more westerly over in Ontario, and the Midwest represented too, maybe perfectly thematically, 2 locations in Indiana for the month of May, so a little bit of extra glory maybe on those drivers' sides in the back of their minds, but anybody can make it happen from any corner of the country.
Let's take a look as well at some of the drivers behind the wheel as they get ready to go, because we always find this very interesting to see often drivers' bedrooms. Now, Joey and I don't get that opportunity here today. Instead, for some of these drivers, you can see a couple of people in the background behind them distracting them. You can also see the motion rig in that top left, Joey, throwing the driver around.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more, hardwood floors, a lot more nice tables, a lot more nice backgrounds, a lot less crunchy blankets and, chip bags. So it's nice to see these places cleaned up for once. We appear to have a ghost in the bottom left, so that'll be interesting. A ghost driver, first time ever. Everybody else, though, getting comfortable. You see up in the top middle, a pillow, a little bit of lumbar support. You're not in your home setup, as we mentioned. Got to get comfortable somehow, and a little bit of lumbar support might be what makes the difference.
If you're new to the Prodigy Racing League, here's a look at, well, what happened about a year ago. It was this 12 months ago, May 2024, that Prodigy Week Part 2 was taking place. A little bit earlier, of course, for Prodigy Week Part 1. Drivers had to go through first the physical and mental, the evaluations and also coaching about what it takes to be a race car driver off the track before the mechanics got to work on what was a bit of a damp and gloomy day on a couple of occasions at the Atlanta Motorsports Park before they finally got unleashed behind the wheel of a race car, Joey, for the very first time.
It's a whole new experience. Going from the sim where there's no G-forces. There is a physical aspect. You're going to be sweating in your sim seat. You're going to be using your arm muscles and your forearm muscles, even your calf muscles, pressing the brake very hard. But there's no G-forces in the sim. There's no wind forces in the sim. It is a whole different experience, and you really don't know what that feels like until you go out and throw that race car around there for the first time in anger.
And while they got plenty of great coaching from the likes of PitFit around fitness, the racers physio as well, and DKC Media around media coaching, on track they had some amazing coaches, including the likes of Boris Said, Max Papis, and plenty more. Kenton Cook, Andrew Carbonell, the list goes on, and I could keep naming some names. 32 drivers, though, were picked from 14 countries across the 100,000 competitors that we had in our first season of esports competition. We're so glad that we're back for a second season of esports competition as we try and find another batch of drivers ready for Prodigy Week in 2025, where they'll get their opportunity once again to jump behind the wheel of a race car and go through that same evaluation process and hopefully be drafted heading off into the P3 Championship. But that is all, of course, yet to come. The journey that they'll be hoping to try and find their way on, still a little bit more for these drivers to go through. The 32 drivers, though, that made their way to Prodigy Week, not all of them were drafted. 24 found their place on rostered teams. One of them, though, had to be the #1 pick. Let's learn more about the Frenchman, Thomas Bellarmine.
My name is Thomas Bellarmine, and I am a racing prodigy. I was born in France. My uncle-in-law was a rally driver back in France, and he was the guy who got me into racing. I started karting here and there when I was young, but I wasn't good. Instead, I turned to sim racing when I was 17, before I went to Virginia Tech. I took a gap year and I got a job at a bakery. I used the money to buy my first PC and to start playing on iRacing. I was beating all the top players, and I told myself that if I can do this in the game, I think I can do the same thing in real life.
It's now Thomas Bellarmine, the #1 overall pick in the Prodigy draft, hunting down our race leader.
Thomas Bellarmine, he's scrappy. He had no entitlement, nothing given to him. And so he's got the head on his shoulders, he's got the drive, just an awesome dude.
Bellarmine lines up the inside to pass Jai Fletcher.
Success doesn't come without work, no matter what. I did whatever it took to make sure that I could become a professional race car driver.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network.
Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
No. I got this.
Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. Sucker Punch, the snack with a snap.
My name is Thomas Bellman.
Great to catch a look at, well, the story of Thomas Bellman, and Joey and I were joking about Team Sucker Punch and their products as well. I've still got plenty of them over my shoulders. The practice session has just come to an end though, and qualifying going to get underway. Joey, this is a qualifying session that I think is somewhat important. You want to be up front, stay out of the danger zone, because the top 5 move forward. The battle for 4th and 5th should be intense.
And these are short races, and it is not the easiest to pass at Road Atlanta. It's a place where mistakes are generated fairly easily, and that tends to be how passes are done. When there's fewer mistakes, there's fewer passing opportunities. The main passing opportunity is going to be that heavy braking zone into the chicane at turn 10A and 10B. Everywhere else on the track, essentially, it's either a high-speed corner or a slow-speed corner immediately following a high-speed corner. Very difficult to pass in any of those scenarios, so when you get an opportunity down at turn 10, you're going to want to take it. It's going to be tough otherwise.
Most of these drivers, by the way, running paint schemes that represent the sim centers they are racing from, so makes it a little bit easier to try and pick your way through the field of what will be 28 drivers that are taking to this qualifying session. Final confirmation just came down. Sounds like a couple of drivers have some other responsibilities to attend to, including one that has maybe just welcomed a new member to their family. So our best wishes to them, and hoping that we'll see them in future Prodigy Racing League competitions. Here comes Michael Polishek, one driver that, Joey, you know plenty about.
Yeah, Michael Polishek, very familiar with racing Porsches on iRacing and on multiple sims. Very successful in the Porsche Club of America sim racing series. A Porsche owner himself, I believe. That's how you qualify for that series. So very comfortable with this mark, and racing for Apex One, the sim center up in Westfield, New Jersey, just outside of New York City. So Michael Polishek both feeling comfortable in a Porsche and, you know, repping the geographical center of one of the commentators in the booth. That's a lot of good juju for him.
And given that he has been competing in the SRO esports world in the Toyota GR Cup Championship alongside our #1 pick, Thomas Bellman. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Let's ride on board for a lap with a driver racing for Apex One up through turn 1. You can see the crest that is turn 3. Got to be very careful to pick your turn in. Don't want to pick up the off track that invalidates your lap on the inside. Now down through the S's. This is where you've got to be aggressive. Foot to the floor and slam the curb as you enter 5 and run your way out towards the wall. Just a couple of corners left, Joey, but they're very, very important.
Only a couple corners left, and you're not even halfway through the lap. That's how important the second half is. 90-degree corner through turn 6 can carry a lot of speed through there, and then the deceptively tight turn 7. You think it's going to be a 90-degree corner, but it's more like an 80-degree corner or a 75-degree corner. It's acute. You can't get on the throttle as early as you want. You want to get on the throttle very early, because this is the longest straight in the track. Technically, there's 2 corners, turn 8 and turn 9, but the first real corner, the very important braking zone and the best passing zone on the track right here at turn 10. Brake as late as humanly possible, carry a lot of speed through the first half, and then line it up to send the car up the hill, get on the throttle as early as possible through turn 10B, and then it's going to be flat out all the way through the lap. It's flat out 1 car wide through the final corner, but trying to run double wide through the flat-out final corner, that's going to be tough come race time.
Now, he was the first driver across the line, but the second driver improved. 64 thousandths better is Olivier Piatek racing out of the Talk Motorsport Sim Center. 64 thousandths though, blink, and you miss it. Dakota Fripp jumps to second though. He's 6 thousandths or so quicker than Polishek. Here comes one of the Oasis Sim Center machines. 26 up and out of the final corner. It's Caleb Gray.
Looking good through the first 2 sectors, throw it through the final corner, gets a little bit wide, doesn't hit the apex on the inside of the final corner, and about 2 seconds off on that first lap. Luckily for him, 6.5 minutes or so. It's a short lap around here. He's going to have more opportunities to improve. You can already tell by the missing the apex in the final corner. There's going to be a lot of time to find in the next couple laps for Caleb Gray.
And you could see being thrown around the rig as well. So Piatek, Fripp are still out there on track. They are currently, you'd say, favorites of the ones with times on the board. Polishek has bailed and is now sitting in pit lane and Waiting to see what the rest of his competitors are going to be able to do. So let's see, the Williams Esports Academy driver, Olivier Piatek. We've seen a couple of shining races from him in top split iRacing special events, but he's not happy with that lap as he breaks the timing beam. And it's a 3.99, so he improves in time, but doesn't extend his margin as much as he could have. Here comes Dakota Fripp, though, to the line.
Fripp was a 10th down. He finds a 10th, but it's still not enough. Only 13 thousandths separating him and Piatek. Couldn't be closer up at the top. I think those two guys are going to get split up in their two heats, but you have to imagine that both of those guys are going to meet again in the final. And if they're this close together in qualifying, that is going to be a heavy, heavy battle in the final. I'm very excited to see that.
You are right. The way that the heats are going to work is 1, 2, and 3. You will snake your way down the running order and split the field up. So Piatek, Fripp, and Polachek, currently those drivers that will start at the front of their respective races. On board with the super lap entry of Paul Darling in the number 25 today. I was calling this out to Joey before we started proceedings. Paul is amongst a handful of drivers in this particular field that I've actually had the, do you want to say pleasure? I'd say pleasure. They'd probably say pain of racing against. He's weaving, though, on this lap and is bailed. So, Joey, he's not finding much time on this one. He's committed on lap number 2 now.
Man, that's a driver who knows what it takes to be fast around Road Atlanta. He saw that first lap wasn't good enough, knew it wasn't worth it, keep pushing the tires, said, you know what, I'm going to keep a little bit underneath me, and I'm going to go all out on lap number 2. You said he was an OG, Arjuna? You think he's an OG? An old guy?
Oh, wow. Oh, no, definitely not. Here comes Ethan Hanshu, by the way. He's only a quarter of a second or so off of Paul right now. He looks behind him, and he's gone to the top!
I think that's why he was looking behind him. He was looking at his friends and family back there and saying, look what I did, guys. Look at him go. That's emotion we rarely see out of sim racers. That's good stuff.
And the problem is he's disappeared off the camera, so now we can't sit and enjoy it very much longer. Oh, that's a shame, but what an expression of emotion, and you want to see a bit more of that through the rest of the night. Welcome to the Prodigy Racing League. If you're joining us for the first time, remember our first season of real competition where drivers competed in the Prodigy 3 Championship can be watched for free around the world anytime on the Racer Network and the, I think it's now Racer Network app. So I'll go and find the correct links. We'll pop them into the chat for you. But go see the journey of 30 sim racers through their first season of Full Metal Motorsport. Here comes Russell Soto. Only a couple of drivers left on track right now, including Paul Darling. It's do or die, 22 times on the board. Can he improve?
Paul Darling, this was all that prep, all that saving from that first lap. He saved it all for lap number 2, 18.646. It's a good lap, but not good enough to break into that top 4. P5 is not terrible. It's going to be a second or third place start in his heat. And I'd say as one of the 5 favorites that find themselves in the top 5, he's going to be in good shape to make the finals if he can survive his heat.
Well, this is Israel Nice in the number 28. He's not on a lap that's going to count in that Speed Hub entry, so don't worry about it. He's just getting some final laps of preparation. And Joey, I just want to go back to the roar of emotion, because that is what this is all about. Remember, it's about living the dream in many ways, right? Going from virtual to reality, and there is a driver who was very, very excited about the lap.
Let's see, can we get any lip movement? Can we see what he was saying to his friend back there? I don't know if we can, but he was happy either way. You don't need Rosetta Stone to translate those body language movements. He was very, very happy, and I think his friends and family back there supporting him are definitely helping him out. He's in one of the more rural, isolated sim centers over in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania, outside of York, Pennsylvania, in the middle of the state. He's not in one of those big cities, so got his family around there.
It's not far away from my old stomping ground, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. So, you know, I wish I had had some of these sim opportunities when I was back in college. There's Anthony Callaway, by the way. That's a very formula style of seating position relative to what some of the others have. Aaron Ramon at the Oasis Sim Center. Shout out, by the way, to virtual2reality.tv and to Oasis Sim Racing for their support of the event. There is Olivier Piatek, 17 thousandths, Joey, off of pole position.
It's a little bit of karma, a little bit coming back to him. He was ahead of his rival for about 17 thousandths of a second, and then he immediately gets that stolen away from him. 13 thousandths separate first and second, 13 thousandths separate second and third. That's pretty crazy. And even crazier, it appears that one of our sim centers is on the side of the world. I think it's over in Equatorial Guinea or something.
I didn't realize gravity works like that, but you know, if they've got a sim center, a sim rig that works like that, you know what? You'll love it. Racer Plus, by the way, is the app that you want to go download. App Store and Google Play. Go check it out. Big shout out to our social team, DMC, who will be running through all the socials as the clock ticks down and we get ready to go. This is where tension starts to build, Joey, right? Because qualifying's done, and now we'll send... Oh, there we go. Thanks for fixing the camera. Oh,
thank you.
Shout out for hearing us.
We're no longer in Equatorial Guinea. We're in real-life Virginia now.
This is where some of the drivers step aside and wait. 10 drivers, though, get ready to be gridded up.
Get your last couple of preparations in. Take your last sips of water. Pressure starts now. Not going to be much more time to get ready.
Quick look at the qualifying results then. As Flat Out Sim Racing and Ethan Hanshew 17 thousandths clear of Olivier Piatek and then Dakota Fripp. Blink and you cover the top 3. It is as close as that, and they're qualifying over at Indianapolis today. These are margins that even those drivers would be thinking about as well. Let's take a look at the starting lineup then for the first of the heat races as we get ready to go. And remember, each of these cars should be, for the most part, carrying a livery representing their sim center. It's Flat Out Sim Racing, Ethan Hanshew and Michael Polishek on the front row. That's going to be an interesting pairing towards turn 1. Behind them, it's Russell Soto for Superlap alongside of Gavin Nakagawa for Circuit Sim Racing. While on row number 3, you find Miles Brown for RPM Rush, Rodolfo Vargas for Sim Drive in one of those virtual to reality entry cars. Austin Aponte and Brandon Hartline line up behind them. And then the final row of the grid, remember only 10 cars in each of the heats. It's Deacon Greenfield and Anthony Callaway. This is, in some ways, Joey, the fewest number of cars we'll throw onto track through the course of the event.
And that's kind of a good thing. If you're one of those drivers who's starting in the back 5, who isn't on the grid to advance at the moment, there's not a ton of cars in this race. If there's even a little bit of attrition, you can move forward into that advancing spot very, very easily. So you cannot give up in this heat to the very end. There's so little between advancing and being eliminated that you got to stick with it. There's a 50% chance you're going to advance.
Again, just a reminder, this is the locations from which our drivers are competing. 16 sim centers all around the US, mostly on the East Coast, to be honest, but those left coast, best coast people do have a couple. Shift Arcade, Circuit Sim Racing, and then up north, Drive VR Motorsports in Canada, if you are on the west coast of the continent. Joey, which is the closest one to you? Have you gone and figured that one out yet?
Closest one to me right now is Apex 1. In Westfield, New Jersey. You can see you got to go over New York, up into North Jersey. That's pretty close. If I was back in Pennsylvania, it would be good old Glen Rock.
I hope I had got my locations on the map somewhat right, so please don't shout at me.
Good enough.
If they're exactly good enough. That's the expectation here today, at least in the broadcast booth. Not down on track.
Have you ever been to San Ramon, California? You ever been to Shift Arcade?
I haven't been to Shift Arcade, but it will have to happen at some point. If Daniel Ferguson is watching, he's a sim racer for WSR Esports. He's been trying to get me to go play golf in Alameda, which is not far away from San Ramon. So it will happen.
Grand Tour.
Exactly. 8 laps of racing, Joey. It's going to fly on by, isn't it?
It is. These laps are only a minute and a couple of extra seconds long, so 8 laps. Going to take probably about 10 minutes if my calculations are correct. So got to be on it early. But as I said, you also can't give up because everything's going to change very, very quickly here. And that front row scares me a little bit because is one of the favorites coming in. Michael Polishek, we knew his quantity before we came in here. Ethan Hanshew, a big surprise putting it on pole. There's not 4 favorites anymore. There's 5 favorites, and I think Polishek might want to take Ethan Hanshew down.
This is where iRating is something that I often say you need to throw out the window. A lot of people will say, oh, but he's got 10,000 iRating. He must be the favorite. Ethan Hanshew's got 2,189 iRating. by that regard, maybe I should be down on track as having a slightly higher I rating, but you never know when it comes to this, the sim world. The virtual to reality journey for some of these drivers might just be beginning. Pace car off and away. Hanshu Polishek in control now of the field. Green flag flies from Road Atlanta, and off and away we go for the Sim Center Golden Ticket Finals. And watch Russell Soto up the inside, 3 wide into turn 1, but the Super Lap entry backs out of it, and so Hanshu holds on.
Whoa.
2 cars, 3 cars off into the grass, and Michael Polishek has made a mistake.
Yard sale into turn 1. I think that was 6th and 7th that threw it off the road immediately. And Michael Polishek, of course, from 2nd place. Ethan Hanshu went wide as well, which opened the door for Russell Soto. Exactly what I said. There's only 10 cars in this field. If you started dead last or on the back row like Deacon Greenfield, you're up in the top 5 now. You're in an advancement spot.
And so really, top 2 or 3, you don't really want them to fight because they will be advancing no matter what if they can continue to hold the gap right now. Michael Polishek is suddenly back in a transfer position, but what he wants to start doing is work his way forward through the field, because where you finish here will determine where you line up in that main event. It's going to be Soto from Hanshu at the front of the field though, and cold tires caught a couple of drivers out down to the chicane. Soto goes defensive.
But Soto surprised the surprise into turn 1. I don't think either of the front row starters expected to be 3 wide into turn 1. They got a little bit spooked, and there was a little bit of target fixation from both of them. Both of them ended up off the road or close to off the road. And Soto, by getting aggressive, scaring his fellow drivers, now finds himself in a great position where it's going to be very difficult to pass him if he makes no mistakes.
Track position is something that we talked about plenty in the P3 Championship. Is it going to be as important here? Remember, we are time limited, not lap limited, and so what I thought might be an 8-lap race, now down to a 7-lap race. As Joey, here's a look at what happened on the start.
Is everybody getting target fixated on Polishek and Hanshu making that mistake into turn 1. You can see Soto getting on the grass a little bit in that black car with the highlighter wheels on the inside. He got aggressive, backed out of it. His rivals did not back out of it quickly enough. They still wanted to outbrake him. And then you saw all the way at the back of the field, the 2 drivers who started 6th and 7th also got fixated on those front 2 cars and just ended up throwing it off the road.
So easy to do at the end of the day. Now let's keep our eye on this fight for, well, remember, 1 transfer position here. Covers effectively 4 drivers, although Brandon Hartline is not far off the case as well. So Anthony Callaway sits in the hot seat, position everyone wants to try and leapfrog. Nakagawa has Aponte and Vargas going wheel to wheel behind him. There's now 3 minutes about to be burned off the clock. I think this is where the action is really going to be. Soto, Hanshu, Brown, and Polishek, they're comfortable.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting battle for the lead if they get close, and that is going to be important come the finals. You probably want to start first instead of third, but battle for 5th is all the more important, advancing to the finals in the first place. And this is a high-pressure situation for Anthony Callaway. It's a high enough pressure situation. He looks like he's in the house from Parasite. I'd be pretty scared. But looking in his rearview mirror, he's got scary Gavin Nakagawa chasing him down, almost put a nose to his inside coming down through the S's. This is the highest pressure Anthony Callaway may have ever felt in his sim racing career.
And this is a real driver's track as well, right, Joey? There's no real margin for error here. You do, yes, not have walls either side of the track, but there's grass instead, which leads you off into the walls. Maybe just a little bit more patience here required.
Yeah, you might not hit a wall, but you might be flailing around in a sea of grass for a while, which can lose you quite a bit of time. You'll see the effect of the draft here for Gavin Nakagawa. He was about 4/10 off of Callaway coming out of turn 7. You're going to need to be much closer than that. There's not a ton of draft that comes off the rear ends of these cars. You're essentially going to want to be within 2 or 1.5 tenths, I'd say, if you want to have any chance of making a move into turn 10. So Nakagawa's got to get closer next time. He's just 2 tenths too far back outside of the bubble.
And so we'll keep an eye out on that fight for 5th position, but I think Joey did call it out. This could be a fight that could build at some point, because whoever wins this heat starts at the front of the 30-minute main event, and track position important. Ethan Hanshu's probably kicking himself that he made that mistake through the opening corner, but the only thing you can do, settle back into your rhythm and try and atone. Russell Soto up 2 positions though. Like Joey was calling out as well, it was the willingness to go aggressive that maybe caused some of the consternation for those behind him. That's a motion rig, though. That's not overly kicking you around, Joey. It's giving you just enough feedback. The type of motion rig I'd love to try my hands on.
Yeah, it's just little micro movements that make it feel that much more realistic. And our old buddy Ethan Hanshoe, he's a handyman. He's a plumber. He's a steam fitter. So maybe he's doing his own tinkering on that motion rig. Maybe he's making it work perfect for him. A couple of extra little movements. Engineering mindset.
There have been drivers who have had hydraulic sim pedals in the past. That's someone I trust to go and repair them. Here comes Michael Polishek, though, with his recovery. Slides past Miles Brown, but that's a bit too physical. Off into the grass. Polishek's left plenty of room and redressed that as well, keeping race control completely out of it.
Very sportsmanlike. Both of these drivers very familiar with league competition. Polishek, as we mentioned, very, very, very successful in the Porsche Club of America. Miles Brown, very successful in the Precision Racing League a few seasons ago. So both of them know what it takes to build community in a league-type setting. And yeah, that was just a hip check by Michael Polishek. It's tough to run too wide through there, and he just kind of let the car go to the outside, bumped Miles Brown off. Let him back by, because he knew that wasn't the right thing to do, and now he's going to try and get by him clean, as Nakagawa tries to get by Callaway. He's going to be to the inside into turn 7, but these guys are going to be stuck side by side. They're leaving each other room.
This is a great fight as well. Remember, one driver to move directly to the main event, albeit starting toward the back. The other has to go through an LCQ. Looks like Polishek's going to get it done. You can see that front of the shot as well. But let's be honest, this is where the drama is. In the journey to try and win a Prodigy Pass, long way around. And this is where it gets difficult because you can be really physical through the chicane. Once again, plenty of room left, but the circuit sim racing machine Nakagawa gets it done.
Yeah, neither of these guys want to take each other out. They're being very respectful, but Callaway's going to have to get the gas pedal back on. Side by side through turn 1 again. Polishek and Brown. This time, Polishek throws himself off the road. Just carries too much speed through turn 1. Yard sails it through the grass. He didn't hit the wall. Did very well to recover it. But just took too much. Expected too much out of those tires in turn 1. Miles Brown stayed cool, and yet again, he's going to hold on to the spot.
Here's a look at the replay. Down through again, that long right-hander, excuse me. And this time it's Polishek on the outside, so let's just keep in mind that he redressed the position when he felt like he had been the one with maybe the part that could have avoided. Will Miles Brown decide the same thing should happen, or what will race control deem is worthy of that? But I think the only thing I know for sure is 2 and a bit minutes left to go, 2 laps left, and Ethan Hanshoe, Russell Soto, the gap between them holding steady, half a second as they head back down to the Fox Factory Bridge for the penultimate time.
Yeah, Soto's done a good job of keeping a steady head, hasn't made a single mistake all race long, and he's actually slowly extended that gap. It was only about a 10th and a half after lap 1. Hanshoe was breathing down his neck, and he's done a good job of just running his own laps, breaking the draft further and further and further with every lap, and now he's only got to do this 2 more times, and he's got pole position for the finals.
Again, a look at Ethan Hanshoe behind the wheel as he works down through the S's. Remember, this is the penultimate lap of the race, I should correct myself. They are going to head to the Fox Factory Bridge for the penultimate time on this particular lap as the seconds tick away. It's been relatively clean, though, even with the stakes up for grabs. I hate to almost jinx myself because the commentator's curse was real today at Indianapolis, but we've had a couple of last corner moments, Joey, in some of the finals that unfortunately we haven't had you in the broadcast booth for. So I'm hoping that your return means that no drama today. It's going to be all clean in those final couple of laps.
The drivers fear me, Arjuno. What can I say? They fear my wrath.
Well, Michael Polishek is maybe fearing this move because deja vu, it's a 3rd time as he'll try and make the move on Miles Brown. 1 more lap to go in heat number 1.
Polishek's done a good job of getting closer. He's without a doubt faster than Miles Brown, but he's just lost his head a couple times. Forced Brown off the road the first time, threw himself off the road the second time with a move around the outside in turn 1 that rarely works. Can he find a more high percentage place to make this move on the final lap? or is he going to have to stick in fourth? He sees that turn one's not going to happen. It hasn't worked out for him all day. Coming up the hill, though, into turn three, he is side by side. That's a very difficult move, and he's going to try and switch Brown back, and that was exceptional. Forced Brown into a mistake, and he's going to drive right by him.
Miles Brown thought he was a motorcycle, taking that bike layout that they sometimes run. However, Polishek, third time of asking, gets it done. Front of the field, Soto and Hanshu will exit turn 7, the tighter than 90-degree right-hander for the final time, and all it's going to take is a good exit for Russell Soto here. Draft is going to play its part. Hanshu's running out of corners, though, and probably out of time.
No, unless he goes for a move like in the IMSA finale a couple of years ago where you send it into turn 10 from 20 car lengths back, it's not going to happen for Ethan Hanshu without a mistake from Soto. And coming into turn 10, Soto maybe even a little bit conservative on the brakes just to make sure he keeps it on the road through the second half of turn 10. He's got this thing under control.
Well, plenty of drama at turn number 1. Russell Soto went aggressive, and his boldness pays off. He'll line up at the front of the final when we get underway, but now has to wait and see who will join him. Ethan Hanshu immediately pulls to the side of the track. You can only imagine slight frustration he might be feeling with himself, but Polisek, Brown, and Nakagawa will all advance as the 5 drivers from the first heat of the night.
Exciting for all of them. Nakagawa had to fight for that one. Polisek had to fight for his spot, and Soto had to fight for his spot. There were battles all the way through the top 5, and there's even going to be a battle for the last spot here. This is literally for last with Hartline and Aponte. And Austin Aponte, great move around the outside in the number 7. He's not going to advance to the finals, but he did not finish last, so it could be worse.
As always, that little bit of a hope as well when you head off into the LCQ. We'll grab a quick look at the results and then step away for a couple of moments before the racing kicks back off once again. Confirmation of the front 5. Soto, Hanshu, Polisek, Brown, and Nakagawa. And then the rest of the field still having that work to do. Well, we still are going to have plenty more racing to come, though, after this. Don't go anywhere. Heat number 2 is moments away from getting underway.
My name is Garrett Lowe, and I am a racing prodigy. My passion for motorsports really started as a kid. My parents loved NASCAR.
And think of Garrett Lowe's education. He's got a mechanical engineering degree with a background in motorsports.
My degree was a backup plan for racing. If racing doesn't work out, I'll work in motorsports. Right now I'm currently working at 2311 Racing, the NASCAR Cup Series as an intern. 2311 is Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan's NASCAR team. It's just a great environment. I love working there.
And a good job from Garrett Lowe on the inside.
Garrett Lowe, he's been doing this for a couple of years already, quite successfully. We have him in a real world car, and now we bring both worlds together and take him to the next level with Racing Prodigy.
Now out of the final corner, he'll stand on the top step of the podium in the big red machine at the NOLA Motorsports Park.
I'm really happy to be the first Prodigy of the event. It was an award that I don't know if I quite expected off the bat. Just had a lot of great things happen over the course of the weekend and had a lot of fun in doing it. Ultimate goal will be making the NASCAR Cup Series one day. I think I can make it a Cup. If not, I just want to race at a high competitive level.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network.
Dear Club.
Der Club?
Der Club. Willkommen im Club. Dieser Club rockt. It's Tanzagamen Club. Jetzt fliegt der Club zu mir.
Rosetta Stone's language learning tools may just be too immersive.
Welcome back to the Prodigy Racing League Sim Center Finals. The field is rolling as we get ready for heat number 2. Let's take a look at the starting grid and see how they will line up. 10 remember to enter and 5 to advance directly to the main event. Olivia Piatek and Paul Darling will control the run up to turn number 1. I say control, remembering what we saw in the first heat of the afternoon. Superlap and Tristan Rogers alongside of Jared Davis in the fastest lap entry. And then back to 5th and 6th positions to find Hugo Dos Santos and Johnny Lovero for Apex 1 and for race mode. Remember, Apex 1 already having seen plenty of drama today. Behind the wheel for Michael Polishek. Oasis Sims Racing and Aaron Ramon has got Stefan Schwartz and RPM Rush alongside. And then final row of the grid. Some work to do for Anthony Stella and for Mark Rivera. It's Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Joey Tebben in the virtual commentary booth. And Joey, an interesting heat number one, I think. What do you think these drivers have learned?
Well, they've learned you might want to be a little bit conservative into turn one. And if there's mistakes in front of you, that'll pay off. You won't get target fixated and you won't throw it off the road as well. But also, there is a distinct favorite in this heat, and that is Olivier Piatek. Not only was he the fastest of the group in qualifying, he's racing with a home advantage right now, racing over at Torque Motorsports in Peachtree Corners just down the road. And he's also a Williams Academy driver. So there's a lot going for him right now, which also means the 9 drivers behind him definitely want to beat him.
That is for sure. Everyone has always got the target on number one. There's Piatek. Here's a look at Jared Davies in the fastest lap entry. Good to see that we've got a couple of drivers with their cameras. Also, Aaron Ramon. I was worried for a second when the black didn't want to lift, but no.
Mustache was too powerful.
There you go. I know you love a good mustache as well. And then at the very least, I know that's Stefan Schwartz in that RPM Rush entry. So a good smattering of cameras through the field. But here we go. Chaos down to turn one on the start of heat one. Have these drivers learned their lesson? 5 to move directly into the main event. Engines already singing in song. Piatek sends them racing. Behind the battle of the super lap machines, Paul Darling and Tristan Rogers will have to sort this up through turn one, and Piatek's going to be clear. He opens up the entry to the corner, maximizes the speed as Rogers slides past Darling into second. No other change through the running order as they crest over the top of turn 3, but there's a little bit of contact as they enter down to the S's.
That was Steven Schwartz getting into Aaron Ramon, just a little bit of an over-aggressive dive or an accidental dive into turn 3. Tips Ramon around and tips himself around. That's unfortunate for both of them, but it's early days. Everybody's still close together. Got to keep pushing for 10 more minutes.
Swap back around between Darling and Rogers, so the front 6 unchanged from how they started, and already 1.2 seconds clear is Olivier Piatek. You called him out as being one of the favorites. This is a very different situation to what we had in the first of the heats, though, because Joey, we've now got effectively 5 cars fighting for 4 spots in the main event.
Darling leads the train, but we ride on board with the car in 6th place. So everybody is in contention. One tiny little mistake is going to be what makes the difference. We didn't see, I'd say, many single car mistakes in Heat 1. There were lots of side-by-side instances where drivers were running each other off the road, a little bit of argy-bargy, but in terms of drivers keeping themselves on the track, all of these guys have done very well after lap 1 to keep themselves within the margins. So I think that tells us that it's going to be fairly difficult to make a move in the next 8 minutes, but you never know what could happen. So we're going to take a look at what happened into turn 3. The bright red car of Steven Schwartz and the black and teal car, that's Aaron Ramon. Schwartz just takes a peek to the inside. Wasn't all the way there, though, just had the barest of noses to the inside. Didn't quite work out.
Sometimes you often see that at turn 3 because of that sort of half commitment. When you stick your nose at the inside and the track narrows up on entry, you really want to be off to the left. And yeah, sorry. Have you seen what is on the back of that Apex 1 machine, by the way? Instead of the GTD Pro labels, it says, I'm a pro.
Ah, there you go.
Very clever. I'll see if I can grab it.
Manifesting the future. I like it.
The future, remember, for one of these drivers is to head to Prodigy Week, get behind the wheel of a race car, be tested physically and mentally as well, and then hopefully be drafted into the P3 Championship kicking off in 2026. Paul Darling and Tristan Rogers 2nd and 3rd position, not losing much time to the race leader on that last lap, but will they fight for what will be grid position in the main event?
This is an interesting scenario that we don't see often. We see it occasionally in bigger events when big teams are racing from their headquarters and you might have 2 separate cars from the same team with both drivers in the same place. Both Paul Darling and Tristan Rogers are at Super Lap in Berkeley, Michigan. They're probably sitting pretty close to each other. So I wonder if that's adding into the pressure a little bit. Looking over your shoulder, seeing if you can do a little bit of screen sniping, see if your competitor's going to be doing something wrong. Jared Davis is all on his own, unfortunately, or fortunately. He doesn't really have anybody pressuring him.
No, you could see someone in the background, but this is where we often talk about distractions, right? You know Dane Warren, Joey, right?
I guess.
Driver for Porsche Coanda Esports. His brother Ethan Warren is actually also a very accomplished racer and sim racer in his own regards. And so they used to race in the virtual V8 Supercars Esports Championship with rigs that were closer than Jared Davies and the rig across from him, but also effectively in opposite directions. So where one of them, if they looked across slightly, I always thought they'd be able to make eye contact with the other, which always made me giggle. But when I talked to Dane about this, he says, it's fine. When I'm locked in, I'm locked in.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in MotoGP when two riders are really close together. Occasionally, a dirty rider will throw an elbow out or something. Maybe we'll see that from Paul Darling and Tristan Rogers if they get a little too aggressive.
Oh, I love the thought of that. Now we just don't have them on camera to try and catch that.
Pull the brake pedal a little bit.
There you go. You remember Max Verstappen's brake pedal failed in Spa 2019. Now imagine sabotage.
Yeah, we've been missing sabotage in the Prodigy Racing League.
See, this is what happens when you get Joey back into the broadcast booth. We come up with all sorts of what sound like innocuous ideas, but really do have legs and could go quite far.
Exactly.
We're about halfway through this race, though, Joey. Piatek's about to finish the 4th lap. The margin about 2 seconds, slowly building to Darling and Rogers.
Yeah, Piatek having a better day than Piastri, so the battle of the PIAs. He's certainly winning that one, but this is a much less close battle than in Heat 1. It's a little bit of a track day for these top three. They're all locked in. They're all running their own races with minimal pressure in front or behind. But that might be a good thing. It's good prep for race time. Piatek's getting essentially a 10-minute qualifying session right now, finding every extra millimeter of the track he can. You even saw him clipping the grass a little bit into turn 1, getting every inch of this track. And it's essentially an extra bit of practice. He's going to be all that more prepared in race 1. In the finals.
I do enjoy this camera angle because it shows you especially down through there, the lines that sometimes they take and the margins with which they're playing with. These, at the front of the field, are drivers that have done thousands of laps for the most part at a track like this, courtesy of what is one of the most popular iRacing special events, the iRacing Petit Le Mans, which will roll back around later on this year. That, I've just realized, by the way, it is his Williams Esports Academy paint scheme, just with the Torque logo slapped on the side of it. So at least Olivier's gone and done something special today.
There you go. Something is good. It differentiates it. You know, there's a lot of black cars in the field and red cars in the field. We got that bright blue and yellow Williams Esports paint scheme.
We can't call it Williams Esports. We got
Williams Academy. Williams Academy.
Williams Sim Racing Academy. No.
Williams Sim Racing Academy.
Yes, they are no longer Williams Esports, which it took me a while to get my head around, because obviously in the Prodigy Racing League they were still Williams Esports until the season came to an end. But they'd renamed themselves. Anyway, we're getting off into the deep end. 3 minutes left to go. Is Tristan Rogers slowly catching up to Paul Darling? There's not much else happening out on track, although Stefan Schwartz has just taken the tow back to pit lane.
That's unfortunate. Steven Schwartz did come into this as one of the youngest competitors, only 14 years old, so this didn't quite go his way, but I have a feeling we'll see him back for future events. He's probably been alive for less time than some drivers have been on iRacing, so he's got a good future. Tristan Rogers, young driver as well, so he's doing well in his first attempt at breaking through here in the Prodigy events, but I'm sure he'll have many more in the future as well.
Let's go back to two drivers you called out racing from the same Sin Center. That's Marcos Rivera on the bottom right and Aaron Ramon on the bottom left. So you can see two drivers, same Sin Center. Now that does look like a slightly different background, Joey, so they're far enough from each other that no sabotage here today.
I don't know. I think I can see the same TV through the hole in the seat behind Aaron Ramon. So I think Rivera, even though he's on the right of your screen at home, he's on the left of Ramon. So I think they are right next to each other.
Hold.
But they've done a good job of angling it.
Hold. All right, now we've corrected it.
Nice.
There
now
we
I
go.
need somebody to walk behind both of those guys to prove my theory.
Oh, we'll get that done during our break. We'll have a bit of a break between our LCQ coming to an end and diving into our 30-minute main event, where if you like off-topic podcast conversations based on this specific heat. Joey and I are in full form here today, and that is going to be an interesting one, that is for sure. Head on to the final lap next time by, and it's a 2.6 second advantage for Piatek. Now, I didn't note the fastest lap of heat number 1, but I do feel like this is a bit of a statement. Piatek's going to start on the outside of the front row when we get underway for the final, and he'll be one to watch.
He will be. I mean, we had those 5 drivers we were looking at coming into this, and I think those 5 drivers from qualifying are going to be the same 5 drivers to watch in the final. Piatek, Darling, Fripp, and the front 2, Hanshu and Soto from Heat 1. I think those are going to be the big 5. I couldn't tell you which one's going to win out in the final. Judging by this dominance, I'd say Piatek does have to be the favorite for the moment, but who knows how that might change after Heat 3, if we can see Dakota Fripp put out a real statement.
Dakota Fripp, who I mentioned some of the last corner incidents that we've had. He has played his part in them. That's one way to say it. And Race Control has intervened, but after being part of our search selection shows, a slightly alternative way to be a part of this journey. It's been interesting just to see. So 1.5 second gap now between Paul Darling and Tristan Rogers. I just saw a question in our YouTube chat. Update on Ethan Hanshu. You just missed him. He raced in Heat 1. Oh, careful through 5.
That was dicey. Throwing it out a little bit on the final lap. You know Tristan Rogers is still pushing. He's not giving up. He's going to have to deal with Steven Schwartz here as a lap car for just a moment, but no trouble there. And as you mentioned, Arjuna, Ethan Hanshu finished 2nd in Heat 1. He's going to the finals. He'll start 1st, 3rd, not 3rd, 4th, 5th, something. We'll do the math later.
We have someone grabbing some highlights behind the scenes. A relatively quiet race for him is Heat 2, but exactly what Olivier Piatek wanted to see. He actually came out to one of the Prodigy Racing League events through the course of its first real season, knowing now exactly where he wants to place himself. He dives down out of the final corner, and the Atlanta local wins in Heat number 2 and advances alongside of Paul Darling, Tristan Rogers, and then a bit more of a wait for fastest laps, Jared Davis, and for Hugo Dos Santos as well. A rather quiet Heat 2, all things considered.
Compared to the craziness we had in Heat 1, maybe a little bit of calm in Heat 2 is all we needed. Who knows what's going to happen in Heat 3, though. We've had a little bit of learning in Heat 2, how to not go so crazy in Turn 1, fewer mistakes, but whole new cast of characters coming up, and that LCQ after Heat 3, that's going to be even crazier.
That's not far away either. One more race, and then we will get down to the business at hand. Let's quickly dial up the race results before we get into the final heat of the afternoon. Piatek confirmed as a 2.5 second gap of over the Superlap machines. Darling and Rogers, with Davis and Dos Santos moving forward. Everyone else headed off to an LCQ. We'll step aside for another moment here, but Olivier Piatek just put the Williams Esports Academy entry into victory lane. Let's see if he can join his Williams Esports teammates in the Prodigy Racing League.
My name is Nathan Saxon, and I am a racing prodigy. I'm from Rhode Island, which is something I'm very proud of because there's not many racers from the smallest state in the country. I'm a mechanical design engineer, and I work for a company that makes submarines. Really cool stuff. We basically work on anything mechanical inside the boat. More credit is due to all the submariners in this country because it is definitely a job that I don't envy, but it's really impressive.
Nathan Saxon is the best amateur driver in North America who should be driving professionally if he just had the money. That's why we're here.
Oh, Nathan Saxon. It's a nice move as he tries to hunt down those in front.
Nathan was my 2nd pick. He's so knowledgeable and he's extremely driven and wants to win, but he will help you like that, even if it means helping his teammate to be faster than him. He is such a great person to be around and to have with the team.
With the opportunity to become a paid professional race car driver, which is not something that's normal in this industry, me and all my competitors are going to be taking this incredibly seriously, as you don't know when your last opportunity is going to come, and this might be the one that makes you that professional.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network. Welcome back to the Prodigy Racing League Sim Center Golden Tickets Final. Arjuna Kankipati once again alongside of Joey Tebben in the broadcast booth. You can see the field ready to rumble for the final heats of the event. Let's take a look at the starting grid where, front of the field, it's Dakota Fripp hoping to finally punch his ticket to Prodigy Week in 2025. He's got Benjamin Nelson alongside at Circuit Sim Racing and Apex Racing Lab on the front row. Second row to find Shift Arcade and Carl Lowe. He's got Jordan Nickerick alongside in that driver motorsports entry north of the border, of course. Braden Otto and Caleb Gray are 5th and 6th positions as we see another one of the Oasis Sims racing machines. Jason Holloway and then Israel Nice line up at the back of what is an 8-car heat. As mentioned, Joey Tebben alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, and Joey, that second heat, relatively quiet, all things considered.
Yeah, let's turn it around for Heat 3. Let's get some craziness. Let's get some elbows out again. I fully support this. And there's a lot of pressure in this one. I would say of our pre-chosen favorites, Dakota Fripp in that number 1 car is the only one in this heat. He's got some other drivers behind him who really want to put their names out there, like Russell Soto did and Ethan Hanshu did in Heat 1. Ben Nelson in P2, I'd look out for him. Jordan Nickerick as well in P4. Say all of those guys are really looking to chase down Fripp, and Braden Otto, who's got a whole support system in the chat as well. They're going to be cheering him on.
See if we can dial up his webcam as well. There he is. Oh, he's racing in virtual reality as well.
Wow. He's racing in alternate reality in a sim center and racing in virtual reality as well. I think maybe that's a good strategy. You're in virtual reality in your home and in your sim center, so it's like nothing changed.
Well, now I understand the name Drive VR a little bit more as well, because Nickerick is also in the virtual reality headset as they get ready to go. This could be an interesting experience, running this race start in virtual reality, but it's the closest they are currently to that Eat a Real Dream. Hoping they'll take that next step forward. So Dakota Fripp's going to be left in control of the field, and a victory here would send him to 3rd on the starting grid of the finals. Off and away he jumps. It's an early launch as well. Ben Nelson, Carl Lowe, and Jordan Nickerick all going to now be thinking about their own respective moves into the opening corner. Lowe's covered off. I think it was Braden Otto who's now trying to tuck back and avoid Caleb Gray from making the move. Slightly smaller field than the first 2 heats of the night, Joey. What that does mean is there's less cars out there to fight wheel to wheel.
Yeah, only 3 drivers will get cut off here, so Holloway, Nickerick, and Israel Nice, they haven't had the best starts, but little bits of trouble might just happen in the top 5, and we're seeing a lot of closeness here. Braden Otto and Kyle Lowe all over each other in the first couple of corners. Ben Nelson not at a touching distance from Dakota Fripp as well. And Caleb Gray just trying to stay on the end of that draft train. The guys below the top 5, Nickerick and Holloway, they were side by side through turn 7 though. They don't want to fight too hard for 6th place and lose touch with the top 5. But you also don't want to be in 7th place instead of 6th, so it's a difficult game fighting for a spot outside the top 5.
Yeah, right now they've caught themselves out a little bit too much, you'd think, and no movement down to the chicane, which quite curiously is numbered as turn 10A and 10B, but that's a curiosity to be discussed in the final. I think the fight for 3rd is where 6th, 7th, and 8th are going to be hoping. These drivers can cost each other some time. Braden Otto's on the hunt, and Carl Lowe's gone defensive towards turn 1. They single file it through that opening corner.
A little bit of road left to the left for most of these drivers. They're not stranding it all the way out, so maybe a little bit of extra pace on the table for Kyle Lowe, or Braden Otto rather, who's riding behind Kyle Lowe. But it's early on. Nobody wants to throw it off the road. Nobody's pushing 100% at the moment, but when it comes to the final couple of laps, and if Lowe and Otto are still close together, I can guarantee you are not going to be seeing any margins left. You're going to be seeing every inch of the track used.
Israel Nice has returned to the pit lane on the flatbed, so an unfortunate incident for him. There was a puff of smoke as someone locked the right front coming out through turn 7. Might have been Caleb Gray, who's lost a bit more ground to Lowe and Otto. We'll say Benjamin Nelson is holding very, very close with Dakota Fripp as well, so a driver that you and I have highlighted as potentially being one of the favorites. Ben Nelson is also making his case known right now as lap 2 comes to a close.
Yeah, and he did a good job through the chicane. Brought that time down a little teensy bit, but it's not quite enough. Needs to get, as I mentioned a couple heats ago, into that about 2/10 bubble to get any effect in the draft. If you're outside of that, you're essentially just driving on your own. There's just not enough of a hole punched in the air by these cars to really do anything. Braden Otto, he is getting close within that draft range. It was about half a second last lap. He's getting closer and closer down through the S's, a little bit out of shape for Lowe. Otto's getting closer. He's hopping the curbs much better than Lowe. Lowe made a little bit of a mistake there. Otto, unfortunately, made a similar mistake, got a little bit loose coming out of the S's and lost all that time he just made up.
I think the best part about this camera angle is you can definitely see Jordan Nikoric behind, also in this race as well. So a great perspective of what these sim centers are all about, getting people to jump into the sim world. You may not have a dedicated sim rig at home. I do, but Joey, you don't have a dedicated sim rig, for example.
No, I have a seat and pedals and a wheel, but I have to set them up every time because I live in an apartment that I would say is probably the size of the bathroom at some of these sim centers. So I gotta be smart with my storage. I gotta move things around.
And that's why, again, find the talent where it is. That's the goal of the Prodigy Racing League, to democratize motorsport and find that talent, again, wherever they may be. That Shift Arcade 05, I do love that livery. One of the, I wouldn't just say nicest liveries of the event, nicest liveries I think I've seen in some of the sim racing events that you and I do, Joey.
Little mixed berry action with the pinks and reds.
Nice.
You're biased, of course, because that's the San Ramon entry. That's the Bay Area representing.
I never even thought about it, you know.
There's subconscious. You're not even feeling Bay Area this weekend. For those of you who don't know, Arjuna is just coming off like a 36-hour Indianapolis magical journey. He just flew back there, saw qualifying, and then flew back to California.
Oh, it was great. I had a ball. Left, what was it? My flight was 10:50 Friday night. Landed back 1:10 in the morning. It's technically today, Sunday. 12 hours later, here we are broadcasting another Prodigy Racing League final, handing out another Prodigy Pass. I will say, you know, we've been quietly cautious about the level of action after Heat 2 that we were going to see in Heat number 3. Joey, right now, Caleb Gray and Jordan Nikoric are not far off Kyle Lowe and Braden Otto. So this is amongst the closest that we've been this late into a race right now, and Nikoric's really got to start to get the move on here. He's running out of time.
He's done a very good job, though. He was one of those drivers on lap 1 who was too busy fighting with Jason Holloway to really think about the top 5, but he's dispatched of Holloway. He's moving forward, and if anything, he looks a little bit faster, or a lot of bit faster than Caleb Gray. He's running about 6/10 a lap faster than him. He's only 5/10 behind him right now. So we come down the S's, he looks much more comfortable. You can see that blue car getting bigger in front of him. I think Jordan Nikoric might have a shot into turn 10 this time. If he can stay close through turn 6 and turn 7, don't get too greedy. Know you've got the best passing opportunity coming up. I think we might see a move coming up here.
I think I agree with you, and I question here, if you're Caleb Gray, with this amount of time remaining, do you think it's better just to let the move happen and not fight too hard? That might be, at the end of the day, maybe the slightly wiser call, but we're about to find out how they're thinking. Race car drivers aren't always known for wisdom, but here we go, wheel to wheel, down to the chicane. You can see both drivers on screen, up the inside in virtual reality. Nikoric's not quite there. He tried to close the door, and Caleb Gray, a little bit of a hip and shoulder budge, holds on to things. 3 laps, I think, left to go.
Tough to run side by side through turn 10B. If you're Caleb on the inside, you tried to give room. If you're Jordan on the outside, you turned in maybe a little bit too early. Both cars just met in the middle. Let's see it again here. Jordan in the black car to the inside. Almost has the move done, but Caleb was still there on the inside. And yeah, exactly as I said, they just kind of met in the middle there. That's going to give Jordan a little bit of fear next time he tries to make that move, because he came so close to making it happen that time. This time just wasn't quite clear. A little bit of air between the two cars as well. It's the best place to make a move, but Jordan might be a little bit more scared to make the move this time if he gets the opportunity.
Just saw Nicholas Rice-Puto jump into the YouTube chat. Hello, he's been part of plenty of our finals and cert selection shows as well. Great to see him. And of course, everyone watching along with this latest cert selection, Sim Center final. Just another avenue for these sim racers to earn their Prodigy Pass. Here we go. Attempt number 2 for Nickerick. And with Caleb Gray covering the middle of the track this time, he's the one left on the outside, not able to get alongside. Ooh. Shoves his nose through, though, through the second part of the corner, and a bold move. Drive VR now run 4th and 5th positions as Caleb Gray on the outside, down through the final corner, loses out in that transfer spot.
Caleb's going to try and peek a nose to the inside into turn 1. It's not a heavy braking zone. It's very difficult to make a move through there, and Caleb not able to make it happen. The 22 of Nickerick goes off the road, though, and that's how Caleb's going to make the move, forcing his opponent into a mistake, and he's going to drive right by him.
The mental mind games that is racing, Joey. You thought you had it done, and now that gap's so big, 2 laps left to go. I think Nickerick's heading to the LCQ coming up in just a few minutes' time.
And that was a phenomenal comeback from Caleb. He had a little bit of a mistake in the chicane, was braking in a different place than he normally did on the inside of the track, being defensive, couldn't get the throttle on to exit the corner. That's what allowed Jordan to get by him in the first place, but he didn't get himself down about that. He recovered, and he pulled off a great bit of psychological warfare, scaring Jordan Nickerick off the road. That was great stuff. He can't get stagnant, though. It's only a 1.5 second gap, and Jordan has been as much as 7/10 a lap faster. He might catch him before this race is over. He's got to keep himself flat out until the end of the race.
A white flag is in hand. We are on to the final lap of this race. Carl Lowe and Braden Otto aren't too far separated from one another either. It's Ben Nelson that finds himself in a bit of no man's land. One more trip around Road Atlanta, and if there's any track where a mistake could be possible, it would surely be this one, but Caleb Gray is being a bit tentative right now, even with that mistake from Nickerick last lap around. He was only around a second slower, Joey. This is truly on.
Jordan's got to give everything to these S's right now. He's within a second now. He's within 0.8 of a second, and he's been much faster than Caleb through the S's. Threw it through the middle part there. Clipped the grass a little bit, actually. I think Jordan might have one more shot. It's going to come down to turn 6 and 7. He's been much faster through this faster first half. He's going to throw it in, carry a little bit more speed. If he can be later on the brakes and carry a little bit more speed out of turn 7, it's a decent exit. He's within 0.3 of a second. He might be a little bit too far back, but I think you're going to see a send from Jordan here.
It will come down to this. It is as simple as that. You don't want to be in an LCQ. Avoid it at all costs. Dakota Fripp will exit out of the final corner, descend under the Fox Factory Bridge, and win Heat 3. He advances with Benjamin Nelson as well. But Nickerick, he goes for it. He sends it. Caleb Gray left the door open. Now a drag race down under the bridge and to the line as well. Tighter line for Caleb Gray. Nickerick around the outside could sweep it.
Oh!
Loses the car, and it's Caleb Gray that advances.
He clipped the grass a little bit into the final corner. That's what sent the car around. I was a little bit worried for him. I think he might have cut the inside of the track at turn 10A. I think he got away with it, but he did get punished by clipping the grass at the end there. You saw him shake his head. He threw everything at it. Just wasn't quite enough. I'd say he's going to be the favorite coming into the LCQ, though.
That was a fun end to that race as well. It just builds up the excitement that maybe we could be in for some good racing. Confirmation of those results. Only 8 entered, remember, but Nickerick, Holloway, and Nice have got some extra work to do before we get into the main event. Remember, we've got some more racing yet to come. I'm wondering if potentially we can grab a look at some of the highlights from, well, the heat racing so far, because it has been thick and fast so far. And so, Joey, let's go ahead and dial up a look at some of what we've seen so far. Heat 1, a long, long time ago now in my memory.
Yeah, it feels like it was last weekend at this point, but this was the highlight of the day so far, and it was the first thing we saw. Russell Otto starting third, gets an incredible start. Bravery descended onto the grass and scares his other 2 opponents, Michael Polasek and the number 32, into going off the road, gets by both of them, gets by Ethan Hanshu, takes the lead, and never looks back, with a couple other cars throwing it off the road behind him as well.
I mean, that was hoping for us that we were going to see that just continue through the course of the event. Unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily meant to be. Yes, there was more through Heat 1, though, as that was a bit too much chaos, I think, if you asked Deacon Greenfield, a little bit further down through the field, and then quite close in the rejoin to almost being collected as well. And that was an opportunistic move. Love to see the heads-up driving there, Joey.
Love to see it. Take your opportunities when you can. This was Heat 2. Steven Schwartz, one of the youngest competitors in the field, just making the tiniest of mistakes on lap 1 into turn 3, sticking his nose in there, taking Aaron Ramon with him, and another car as well. The other Oasis sim racing car I didn't realize was also involved there. Coming through the final corner, Russell Soto. This was Heat 1, where he won up against Ethan Hanshu. And another look at Heat 2 when Schwartz was almost there, but it's just so difficult to make a move through turn 3 like that. You got to be fully alongside, and even then, it's terrifying.
That was Olivier Piatek grabbing the victory then in Heat 2, and now, quick look at what just happened. Dakota Fripp leading out of the final corner to get the third and final heat underway. And then this was one where we did see some action. You saw Carl Lowe in that Shift Arcade entry slide through to third. He got in front of Braden Otto, a fight that would run all the way to the checkered flag, but this is one that had some legs to it. The fight for 5th position, the fight for a transfer.
Nicaric and Caleb Gray, they had so many moments through the chicane. That was the first one. Second time around, Gray decides to defend to the inside. Jordan gets there, leaves him room on the outside. You thought that was the end of the battle, and I think Jordan did too, but Caleb Gray sticks his nose to the inside, puts himself in the mirrors of Jordan Nicaric, and scares him off the road. That's how he got P5, and that's how he ended up advancing in the heat that the #1 car, Dakota Fripp, ended up winning.
But while Fripp crossed the line with no such trouble, there was to be some drama on the run towards the checkered flag. Neck and neck they would run, but on the outside, Nicaric put himself in to the grass, and around the car would go, and Caleb Gray had done enough. Before we get going for the LCQ, when we'll punch 10 more drivers forward to the main event, let's take a quick look back through the story of some of those already in the Prodigy Racing League P2 Championship, the driver that won plenty of races in the inaugural P3 series.
My name is Will Redford, and I am a racing prodigy. I've worked as a mechanic for the past couple of years. That's sort of been my day job. That's where the passion comes from for working on cars. Back at home I have a Honda Civic EP3. I have crashed it before, yes. We were racing in torrential rain and I just clipped a puddle through the back section of the track which sent me into a wall at about 90 miles an hour. It's scary in the moment because there's a certain point you have to accept that you're not in control of the car anymore. For me personally, the moment I'm out of the car, you just think about getting back in it again. The quicker you can get back in it, you get that crash out of your head and you just go back to what you're doing. And that's the most important thing, is not getting hung up on it.
Will Redford crossed the line at Sebring and join Winners Club.
Amazing drive, well done. So proud of you right now.
Will, for me, has been the standout of Prodigy this season. I mean, he has just kept a level head. He honestly hasn't put a foot wrong, and he's so fast. I think Will could be really good, and I've told him I'll help him. I honestly think that he has a future as a racing driver. I hope that comes to fruition for him.
Of course, I want to win the team championship, not just from a personal side, but to prove into everybody else that I have got what it takes, and this is what I'm here to do.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on Racer Network.
In racing, it's very hard to get your shot because it's so expensive.
But if you've got game, you've got a shot.
There's an opportunity to really revolutionize motorsport through gaming.
In Season 1 of the Prodigy Racing League, 30 of the best gamers on Earth are racing in the real world, in real race cars, and only 20 will advance to the next level.
It's American Idol meets motorsport.
If you want a shot at becoming a pro driver, join the Prodigy Racing League by entering our esports tournaments today.
Well, welcome back along to the world of the Prodigy Racing League. You can sign up for future esports tournaments at racingprodigy.com. But Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside of Joey Tebben, getting ready to send our LCQ out to go racing. They'll get 10 minutes, 10 drivers to move forward to the main event, but their last chance is now. Let's take a look at the starting grid, walk you through those that are entered and those whose stories might be coming to an end. It's Anthony Callaway and Johnny Livero on the front row for MC Racing and Race Mode, respectively. Behind them, Nicaric. We just saw him in Heat 3, fighting all the way to the end. He's got a decent starting spot here alongside of Rodolfo Vargas for Sim Drive. 5th position going to Mark Rivera for Oasis Sim Racing. Jason Holloway in the, what do we call it, magenta berry, Jason Holloway Shift Arcade entry. Deacon Greenfield and Aaron Ramon, RPM Rush and Oasis Sim Racing 7th and 8th positions, with Israel Nice and Austin Apont inside of the cut line with some pressure from behind. Anthony Stella is going to be 11th, ignore virtual to reality.tv, and then Brandon Hartline and Stefan Schwartz will be at the back of the 13-car field when we go racing, Joey. Remember, 13 enter, 10 to move forward.
All right, so that is, again, high pressure if you're at the back of the field. Only 3 people going home after this. Everybody else is going to make it. We got some of the favorites up front. Anthony Callaway, we saw him battling with Nakagawa in his heat, came very close to making that happen. Johnny Livero on the outside of the front row, very quiet, dare say anonymous in his heat. Maybe a good thing. Didn't get himself into any trouble, just quietly drove. That might be good for his advancement. And of course, Jordan Nickerick starting 3rd. We know him as one of the action drivers from the last heat. Came so close to making it. He's going to want to win this one, and he very well could from 3rd.
You do have to think about, where you finish determines where you start in the main event, but being realistic, you just need to make it forward. You don't want to be one of those 3 to miss out, as Joey called out. It's only a 10-minute race as well, so this is one, Joey, that's going to fly on by.
The last couple of races, though, we've seen some different things develop. I say in Heat 1 and Heat 3, we've seen tandems develop. 2-car battles. Heat 2, everybody kind of got separated. I think with everybody being so close together in this heat, we're going to see packs like we haven't seen yet all day. It's going to be a 4 or 5-way battle for the win. Maybe even a 7-way, 8-way battle for the win. All these guys can make it happen.
And you've seen a bit of gravel and grass kicked around onto the track surface as well. Pace cars off and away, and the note of the engines has already risen. We are go for the LCQ, and a car off the track already, but Schwartz has held on to it. They're 3 wide to turn 1. Callaway leads them. Can they get through safely? 3's going to be the danger zone. Oh, hold on to the car. I think they just about did that as well, but there's some contact as we watch them throw it through the right. Livero's in the wall, but the only one in strife.
Johnny Livero did a great job of saving that when he sent it 2 wide in turn 1. Did a little bit of a Tony Hawk ollie over the curb, kept it pointed straight, but he made contact with the 22 immediately after of Jordan Nickerick, and that's what sent him into the wall. That's heartbreaking for Johnny Livero. Had a shot at winning here, but now Rodolfo Vargas gets a big win. He gets 2 spots with Nickerick and Livero coming together. Mark Rivera representing Oasis Sim Racing. They're as high as they've been all day in 3rd, and everybody in the top 4 in draft range of each other.
So Israel Nice has taken the flatbed to pit lane. Johnny Livero, of course, involved in some of that drama. He's dropped back in the pack. It means Anthony Stella is on the outside looking in, and everyone else knows that right now they would advance. It is as simple as that. Top 10 to move forward. Keep yourself in the ballpark. Anthony Stella's lost a couple of car lengths to the rest of the field as they exit out of the final corner. Lap 1 complete. Anthony Callaway slow. Maybe a slowdown penalty as he drops backwards.
Definitely a slowdown as he lets Vargas and Rivera by him. He might let Deacon Greenfield by him as well if he can't serve this slowdown before turn 1. I don't think he had it fully served. He had to get on the brakes early yet again. Let Greenfield by. He's going to try and switch it back on him. It's not going to work, though. That's heartbreaking for Anthony Callaway from 1st to 4th. In 2 corners.
Wow, wow, wow. And that also now drops him back in the running orders if they finish as they are. And the main event would be getting underway. He's gone wide up of turn 5 as well. Behind them, there seems to be more drama, though, for Brandon Hartline and for Stefan Schwartz. And you can see them both rejoining the racing surface, trying to regather their composure as well. Now only one of these drivers will advance forward. Anthony Stella's in a great position, and don't look far back. There's Johnny Livero.
With a not entirely fresh car. He did make contact with a concrete wall, but he's very fast. I'd say much faster than those 2 cars in front of him. It's a very good chance Johnny Livero could make this happen. And good for Anthony Stella to just keep his car pointed straight and survive. Good for Deacon Greenfield here to get by Mark Rivera. Lost a ton of time side by side with Rivera through 6 and 7. Now he's clear. He made up about half a second on Rodolfo Vargas in 2 corners.
And he is up 5 positions since the start of this race as Deacon Greenfield. It has been a charge. Remember, we saw the highlights of the heat races. He was one of those, tangled up in a little bit of the argy-bargy of those races. The RPM Rush 19 out into the S's for the 3rd time of asking now. That's a slightly odd line I would want to call out, but maybe just trying to stay out of a lot of the dirty air, but that compromised them all the way to turn 5 now, Joey. And Rivera, Callaway, Nicorick, it's closed back up for the front 5.
Greenfield taking a little bit too much through turn 5. Driver with some real-life experience, mostly spec Miata, local club racing kind of things. He knows where the limits are, but he's in the sim. Can take a little bit more leeway with a little bit less fear. Further back, Anthony Callaway on his recovery drive. Already looking to make 1 spot up on Mark Rivera. Side by side with him, that's going to slow them both down momentarily. They're going to block the track entirely for Jordan Nicorick. He's not going to be able to get by either of them. Callaway is going to make the move around the outside, becomes the inside into turn 10A. That was good stuff from him, but it's lost him some time. It's lost him a ton of time. 2 full seconds now separate him from first and second.
Maybe some inexperience there from Rivera, because he was very, very tight on the entry. He didn't open it up as maybe much as maybe he could have, and that, I think, is kind of what slowed them down as well, staying side by side for that long. Greenfield has closed on the race leader, though, as you ride from the nose of the number 19. Just see how much more confident he is into the braking zone, but maybe pushing a bit too much as now he loses some of that time on the exit of the corner. Back to the fight for 3rd position, side by side to 6.
It's not over. Callaway loses the spot back to Rivera. Didn't see what happened. Not sure if he made a mistake down through the S's and got another slowdown, or if Rivera was just able to push his way on by, but yeah, this essentially ends the battle for the win. Vargas and Greenfield are going to be the only 2 fighting for the win. These guys are going to be fighting for 3rd at best. Riding on board with Jordan Nicorick. He loves the chicane here. He loves the turn 10s. Is he going to try and make a move on Callaway? He thought about it, but couldn't be late enough on the brakes, and is much faster through the center of the corner. Has to get off the brakes entirely, not to ram into the back of Callaway, and that destroyed his exit.
Callaway was very focused just on his own corner. Didn't really think that Nicorick was going to even look for the move there. But Rivera feeling the need to go defensive to the chicane, and that, I think, shows how tight these drivers are. Locked in terms of their relative speed. Maybe that's where we've run ourselves to as well. Estella and Aponte, door-to-door contact. How are they still running in a straight line?
Gotta give them both credit for that. They kept the steering wheel pointed straight, waited until they got on asphalt again, and they got away with it. But I don't know, those 2 drivers might be unhappy with each other after that. That might not be the last bit of contact. And Schwartz and Lavero, 2 good stories. Lavero nearly back up into the top 10 after the lap 1 crash. And unfortunately, him and Steven Schwartz, I think that's writing off both of them.
Well, Brandon Hartline saying thank you very kindly. That's allowed him the chance to now hold 10th on his own. There's no worries, I think, for him. Johnny Lavero, albeit still circulating, is going to try and challenge. The move comes from Nicorick up the inside of Anthony Callaway. He's gone from the lead of this race down to 5th, with now what will be 5 laps complete. Your race leader, Rodolfo Vargas, just got a handful of laps to hold on here. 3 more to go as Greenfield looks to the inside.
Ooh. I like this battle. Sim Drive versus RPM Rush. Deacon Greenfield representing Nova, Northern Virginia, and making sure Rodolfo Vargas knows that he's there. Doesn't get the best exit through turns 2 and 3, doesn't get the best run through the S's at all. He's much faster through turn 5 and much faster through the final sector of the lap. He needs to do a better job through those first couple of corners, though, if he wants to get himself within draft range. He's just outside of draft range now, about 3.5 tenths back.
See if we can pick up what happened with Lavero. Oop, off the track goes.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No.
Oh, no. No, there's a couple of things wrong with that, unfortunately, Joey.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but Shorts was a couple too many car lengths over to the right.
Exactly, and he's forced.
There was one car width for Livero, and that wasn't enough.
Livero did basically all he could, so got to give him his kudos there. Got to say, beating up front end on Anthony Stella's car, but I hope he hasn't used the chrome horn to get his way up to 7th, maybe 6th here as he fights with Jason Holloway. It's been a good fight through the field for a driver. Now with technical issues, and it's sent Holloway around.
We saw a ghost in one of the chairs earlier, and unfortunately that's exactly what happened there. Stella disappeared at the worst possible moment, and poor old Jason Holloway couldn't do anything. He couldn't see the car, so he turned in as normal, and another car magically appeared out of nowhere. You never want that to happen.
The joys of sim racing, I guess. That's one way of calling it. 2 laps left to go. Vargas versus Greenfield, with Rivera not too far behind. These drivers have been pushing each other to the very limit, Joey. But they've got to remember, they're both advancing right now. Again, we've said it a lot. The last thing they want to do is what we just saw with Livero and Schwartz.
But unfortunately, we saw exactly the same thing as we have for the last couple of laps. Greenfield just not that good through the first half of the lap. Losing ground to Vargas, and losing all the time he makes up through these final couple of corners. He's about 5 car lengths back, 4/10ths back. That's far too far back to actually make a move into this heaviest braking zone. You're going to see he's better on the brakes. He's going to get closer. He's going to get much, much closer, but he's got to be closer for the first half of the lap, so all that advantage he has can actually be used to make a move and not just give up to the back bumper.
1 lap to go. We'll know which drivers have made the main event at the conclusion of this one. With Stella and Ramon fighting slightly further behind. Stella holds on to 6th position, but there's no one really at this point in contention to try and leapfrog their way into the top 10. So on board we ride with Deacon Greenfield over the top of turn 3, down in through the S's. This is where the commitment is on display, but you can see the dirty air pushing him out wide.
This is still the best first half of the lap he's had in a while. Carried a little bit too much speed into turn 5, though. He did so good through the S's, and then got a little bit greedy into turn 5, lost all of his mid-corner speed, and Vargas, driving the same way he did at every other lap, was able to hold that 4/10 of a second gap on exit, and now out of turn 7, all he's got to do is stick the throttle down, don't do anything especially terrible into turn 10, and he's got too big of a margin for Greenfield to overcome unless he does something absolutely crazy coming into turn 10 here. Nicaric is absolutely close enough for 3rd, though.
This is where, do you think you need to make the move? Nicaric's already had an issue at the end of the race going for a position, and while Vargas holds off Greenfield, Nicaric's trying to switch back, trying to set it up, and he'll get the run as well. Passes Marcos Rivera, so Rodolfo Vargas victorious in the LCQ, but brings with him Greenfield, Nicaric and Rivera. A photo finish between the two of them, and then Callaway, Stella, Ramon, Aponte, and then Holloway and Hartline will make up those 10 to move forward. Give a shout out, by the way, to Deacon Greenfield and to Stella. 5 positions gained for the both of them.
Great stuff, and great stuff from Nicaric. Putting away, or at least learning what he learned from the previous heat. Was fighting against an Oasis sim racing car into the final corner again. Decided to back out of it a little bit, let Rivera make a mistake himself, and then drive right by him on exit. That was great stuff.
There is Johnny Livero, beaten and battered as the front end on that Porsche, and his afternoon, evening comes to an end. Just one final driver, it's Israel Nice to wrap things up in the LCQ in that Speed Hub 28. Love the red wheels on that car as well. It's always a question some have asked. What colors are acceptable on race car wheels? Some have argued to me black or white, and that's it. To them, I say look at Subaru with their blue and gold, and I will say nothing else. We will grab a look at the race results, and now a quick hold before the main event gets underway. A chance for those that have been sitting and watching from the sidelines to head out onto track and to figure out the evolution of the surface. But again, confirmation: Vargas, Greenfield, Nicaric, Rivera, Callaway, Stella, Ramon, Aponte, Holloway, and Hartline. All drivers that have saved their chance of a Prodigy Pass. For Livero, Nice, and Schwartz, it is end of the line here in this PRL Golden Ticket Sim Center Finals. Tell you what, I think that LCU had plenty of action, Joey. Let's see if we can catch up with some of the highlights. I'm guessing if we were to watch all of the highlights, it would just be us watching the entirety of the race.
Pretty much. It all kicked off on lap 1. Johnny Lavero, the heartbreak of the day, starting second. Looked like he was going to have the pace for the win, but into turn 1, it already started going wrong for him. He was to the outside of Callaway. Actually got a great run. Great head of speed, but it was too much speed. Threw it off the road, did a very good job to recover it, and then up at the top of the hill makes contact with Jordan Nickerick and ends up in the concrete wall. It was just heartbreak after heartbreak for Lavero. A couple other drivers. I think Anthony Stella ran into trouble on lap 1. Anthony Stella did a great job of recovering to make it through. Lavero, unfortunately, after this, did end up getting taken out again.
Good attempted fight back at the very least. This is another look at the ping pong further behind. That's why Israel Nice needed the flatbed, I believe. And that was Schwartz barreling up the inside of turn number 5 and finding out exactly why that is not a passing opportunity. Anthony Callaway, we're pretty sure, had a slowdown penalty, and that saw him drop down from the lead, where he started this race, I should say, down through the field. Then, that was the moment that I was waiting to see. That's how they kept it on the straight and narrow, Joey. The contact happened on entry.
And Steven Schwartz just not having his best day, unfortunately. Johnny Lavero having an even worse day. Just gets speared into concrete for the second time. Gotta feel bad for Johnny. I hope we see him again in a future event because he showed speed today. This was great stuff. From Jordan Nickerick into the final 2 corners, into the chicane, lets Rivera outbrake him, pulls a masterful switchback. He got screwed by the grass on the outside of the track in the heat, but in the LCQ gets himself on the inside, easily gets 3rd. And Rodolfo Vargas, a fairly quiet first place, I'd say. We talked mostly about Deacon Greenfield trying to chase him down, but Vargas was more impressive, made 0 mistakes that whole time.
Joey, we were joking, by the way, about Sucker Punch. If you want some Sucker Punch products, I've still got some.
Look at that. Look at that focus.
Over my shoulder. A chance for us to breathe, right? Because we have a 30-minute race coming up, which isn't that long necessarily. You and I, we've commentated on our fair share of endurance 24-hour races, but with the situation that's up for grabs, right? This is a very lengthy race because the mental focus of dialing yourself in and not thinking about the stakes at hand, that takes a lot of mental acuity.
Yeah, there was high pressure in those races to make a move early. You only have 7 or 8 laps to actually get a move done. With 30 minutes, you have a lot of time to set a move up. You have a lot of time to force the driver in front of you to get a little bit tired and make a mistake somehow, and we're going to have to think about tire life a little bit. The tires aren't going to wear too much in a 30-minute race, but at a track like Road Atlanta, every corner is high speed. You're going to have to be dealing with maybe not being able to push 100% the entire time.
Even with the slightly cooler track surface that we do have out there. We've been taking a look at some of the stories of our prodigies already in the P2 Championship through the course of the night. Let's do that one final time and dive into the world of Lorenz Herzing, the very first prodigy of the year.
I am Lorenz Herzing, and I'm a racing prodigy. I got into flying because my father was an airline pilot, so I spent a lot of time as a kid in the cockpit. I got into my first option as flight school, which was pretty nice, and started in November 2023. I really enjoy racing, but I'm probably gonna enjoy flying a lot as well. Lorenz, as the other pilot, we have some banter between us. We both enjoy beers, we both enjoy airplanes, and we both love cars. So there's this friendly rivalry, but it's all fun and games, and we really get along very well.
Lorenz, he's very structured. I think he's also very straightforward. He's very self-aware. He's also somebody that I will be watching closely, like the steps he's making every time he's on track.
I'm just, in general, a happy person. I enjoy what I do, especially the time here I can spend at the track with the others. It's a childhood dream come true, and I don't know what else to do than smile.
Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on MAV TV.
Bailar?
Bailar.
Bailar. Yo bailo.
Bailo con gracia.
bailo como si no hubiera un mañana. Ahora la lengua me baila al compás.
Rosetta Stone's language learning tools may just be too immersive.
Time to go racing for the final 30 minutes in the PRL Golden Ticket Sim Center Final. You can see the cars are rolling. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Joey Tebben. Let's run you down through the starting grid as the field is ready to rumble. We've been through the course of 3 heats and an LCQ, and 25 drivers find themselves in position. Russell Soto and Olivier Piatek at the front of the field as Superlap and Torque Atlanta get ready to go. Behind them, it's Dakota Fripp and Ethan Hanshu lining up 3rd and 4th position, with 5th going the way of Paul Darling, and then 6th for Benjamin Nelson. 7th for Michael Polisek. Tristan Rogers will see him company on row 4, and then Carl Lowe and Miles Brown 9th and 10th positions, rolling back a little bit further to find Jared Davis and Braden Otto. Remember, the biggest number of cars we've stacked on track so far today, Gavin Nakagawa and Hugo dos Santos line up then row 7 with Caleb Gray, Rodolfo Vargas, as you start to get towards those, making their way from an LCQ. Deacon Greenfield, Jordan Nickerick, and then Marcus Rivera, Anthony Callaway, Anthony Stella, Aaron Ramon, and then Austin Aponte, Jason Holloway, and last but not least, Brandon Hartline by himself in 25th position. Joey, it's time to go. 30 minutes on the board, and the front row where all eyes will start.
Big rivalry up front now. Russell Soto, Olivier Piatek, and Dakota Fripp. All 3 winners of the heat starting 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. A couple drivers unfortunately not on the grid. Not seeing Ethan Hanshu starting on the grid. Rodolfo Vargas, our LCQ winner, and Stella and Aponte will start from pit lane. So big comebacks needed from them, and exciting times up at the front of the field.
We were talking about it before we watched the story of Lorenz Herzing, the first Prodigy of the year. Tire conservation, could it be the first time that we've thought about it? Joey, take a look at the weather conditions. It's hot out there at Road Atlanta.
It's absolutely hot. Not the hottest day in the world air temperature-wise. 78 degrees, that's pretty nice, but 130-degree track temp, that's going to be scraping those tires very much through these high-speed corners. Experience is going to pay off.
30 minutes to run in the very first Prodigy Racing League Sim Center Golden Ticket Finals. Piatek's been cleared as Russell Soto gets us underway and weaving back and forth, getting some heat into the Michelin tires. It will be the climb out of turn 1 where you may start to see the drama arise. Looked like Michael Polisek in a little bit of trouble as he was left, I think, on the outside. Oh. And now around he goes. Big drama as well for one of the main favorites of the event. The rest of the field streaks down through the S's unperturbed.
That is absolute heartbreak for Michael Polisek. There he is rejoining. Caleb Gray in trouble. The 35 of Brandon Hartline as well very narrowly avoids getting T-boned down through the S's. All things considered, though, a 25-car grid, that's a pretty clean start. Most drivers still on track, most drivers still surviving, and Russell Soto, he had enough pressure in his heat holding Ethan Hanshu back. Remember how dominant Olivier Piatek was in heat number 2? He's going to be even tougher to hold behind for 29 minutes.
And this is the closest the field has been down to the chicane on the opening lap since we got the green flag dropped for heat number 1. Piatek opens up the corner, puts that pressure onto Russell Soto. And I did mention that iRating often means nothing. Well, Olivier Piatek's racing under his iRacing account, which has 10,109 iRating, Joey.
Can't count Russell Soto out, though. He may have less iRating. He's getting dove to the inside by Olivier Piatek, though. Olivier not afraid to get the elbows out early. It's so tough to run side by side through turn 3. Soto held on to it. Both of them kept it pointed straight. Dakota Fripp's going to get hit, though, by Soto, and he's going to go around.
He doesn't lose too much. He was able to claw control of the car back. But it has now checked up slightly, those behind, and so back out of turn 5 they exit on the second lap of this race. All 25 machines are out there and circulating right now, but all of this chopping and changing at the front. Can Piatek take advantage? Remember what he did in his heat, Joey? Once he was able to break away, he never looked back.
Not showing much emotion right now, but you got to imagine he's pretty happy seeing that 1.3 second gap. He got aggressive in turn 1. He forced his way through. It went very cleanly. Soto did a good job of sticking it around his outside, but there's only so much you can do running side by side through turn 3 like that. And Soto's got to keep his head forward, make sure Ben Nelson doesn't take a shot at him, make sure Tristan Rogers doesn't get involved, and just try and bring that gap down to Piatek over the next 27 minutes.
It is a long race, and by no means is it done and dusted. You watch Carl Lowe leaning into the corner, as all good sim racers do. Riding up into turn 3. This is a race as well where, because it is that little bit longer, Joey, Road Atlanta, a track that you can do a lap in around, what, 85, 90 seconds. It's a track where you're going to do a decent number of laps. Track limits becomes a talking point. These drivers do have a 17x incident limit to be thinking about.
It's tough around Road Atlanta, but at the same time, it's not tough because track limits are self-policing in a way. There's some slower corners, like on the outside of turn 7 here, where you can run a little bit wide, just as Deacon Greenfield did. There's 1x for him. But everywhere else, you run wide, you're probably getting sent off very, very far off the track and losing more time than you'd even gain by getting a 1x. So I think it's going to be hard to accumulate 17 incident points, but at the same time, we've seen some of these drivers get involved in multiple crashes in 10-minute heats. Who knows what could happen over 30 minutes? You got to keep it clean.
And that's a salient point, just given the fact that, you know, we are going to probably see a bit more contact, and that does add up in terms of the incident points as well. So we will keep an eye out on that. Not much chopping and changing for now. Miles Brown's lost a bit of ground, and Carl Lowe, well, tried to get up the inside, but Miles Brown gets turned on the nose, the triple too hard into the wall, and then rejoins alongside of Gavin Nakagawa, who does a great job to hold on to 11th as well.
Nakagawa probably very scared right now, but very thankful that he survived that. It was side-by-side contact, so he didn't get tipped around. The aggression is everywhere. It's only first place that you really care about right now, but it's still going to be a big fight all the way down through the field. Look back at the start. Piatek started second, lest we forget, with his 3-second lead right now, but he was patient, he was calm, and he managed to clear the rest of the field, who kind of ran into each other immediately behind. This is what happened to Dakota Fripp in turn 3. It was fine until a couple corners later when he got piled into.
I was trying to figure out what happened to Michael Polishek, but you can see him in the wall. That's the aftermath. Slip up the inside from Braden Otto. Does get it stopped in time as well. Very nicely executed. Switchback forthcoming, but door gets slammed shut. Otto forward to 8th position.
Got a huge support system in the chat. As we mentioned, they're loving the Braden Otto Festival, and I don't think he's done. Up to P8. There's some battles up in front of him. If he can get by Jared Davis, Paul Darling and Ben Nelson are fighting. A top 5 might be possible for Braden Otto. He's got 24 minutes to make it happen.
You can see the mouth moving away, the focus on Otto's face. He's not far off that fastest lap 27 of Jared Davis. He's in that no man's land. 3.3 seconds the advantage for Olivier Piatek, though. You gave him an opportunity to break away, and he's taken it with both hands. Although Tristan Rogers has not gotten close enough up to his fellow Superlap entrant of Russell Soto to really make a move right now. So by no means is there a blockage in the queue right now. These drivers are all running their own pace. Can't say the same, though, a little bit further back as Deacon Greenfield, Miles Brown. They're tripping over each other. 3 wide down to the chicane.
Ooh. Gonna get dicey. 2 wide. They've managed to resolve it for the moment, but Greenfield and Nicorick, both of these guys aggressive in their heats and in their LCQs. Miles Brown was, I think, hoping that they were going to run each other off the road there. They were actually both very kind to each other, left each other room, and Deacon Greenfield's going to end up winning that battle On board with Ethan Hanshu now. Heartbreak for him. Missed the start. Had to start from pit lane. He's not giving up, though. He's still on track. Still started from the back of the field. And he's going to try and get every spot he can get, prove his worth. And I have a feeling that folks may notice if he drives from pit lane to the top 10 or better.
That's the kind of thing which in other events has made you very much on the notice board for the PRL Search Selection Committee. Ethan Hanshu, you can see the intensity behind the wheel right now. 2 wheels off into the grass. And he will make the move on Anthony Callaway. He's up to 15th position so far. His fight back is not done. He still has a chance with 22 minutes to go to make his way into the top 10 and hope for some trouble. I think the problem is, even if he does get a top 10, you remove Olivier Piatek from the equation, and yes, he's got a decent chance of maybe clawing his way to the front. It's now 4.2 seconds the gap that the Williams Sim Racing Academy driver, is going to have at the front of the field, and I would not be shocked if you're punching another fastest lap of the race this time around. No, sorry, he's half a tenth slower than his fastest lap the previous lap by.
What a slacker. Unbelievable. Pick up the pace, Olivier. But it's actually just a little bit of bad luck, honestly, that he ended up starting second. He just had the bad luck of drawing Heat 2 instead of Heat 1. He probably would have been on pole either way, and we might not have even thought about him in second at all, but he knew he was faster. He knew he could make that move early. He did, and 4 seconds in 9 minutes, I would not be surprised if that's a 10-second gap at the end of this race.
On board with Nakagawa in the mid-pack. I'm going to try, this is the thing with live broadcasting, you should never try something unless you're confident it's going to work. Joey knows exactly what I'm talking about. Where's my zoom button?
Oh yes, I love experiments.
Oh,
and there it is, I'm a pro.
It's not even
beautiful.
Not even just, what's the face on the, just above the light? Can you know what I'm talking about?
I see the top of a head.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't know who it is though. If anybody in the chat knows,
if anyone
it's on Hugo Dos Santos' car. So if anyone at Apex 1 knows, if anyone in the Dos Santos family is here, oh, Miles Brown! Oh no!
And that was with Hanshu, who gets through the corner safely. Brown avoids getting tagged by Callaway. Rivera, but almost gets run into by Vargas because he was trying to rejoin as the red and white machine with the yellow wheels went through the kitty litter. Unfortunate there. We pick back up the leaders at the front of the field. It's now a 5-second lead for Olivier Piatek. Let's also go back and take a look at what happened down to the chicane.
A little bit of 3-wide action. Hanshu was sending it to the outside, and I don't think Miles Brown knew he was there. Let's see it from the helicopter. Yeah, Brown just moves over a little bit to the left. Didn't leave Hanshu any room. Bounces off of him. Hanshu ends up in the grass. And poor old Miles, stuck in the middle of 3-wide. Maybe didn't have a spotter telling him where the other cars were and just ended up pinballing himself into the wall.
It's the second bit of contact for Miles Brown, unfortunately. This is not meant to be a contact sport, is motorsport. Some would argue that some of the dirt sort of racing, short course, rallycross is, but not in these Porsche 911s. Look to the inside from Dakota Fripp to try and get past Tristan Rogers. Now, again, remember, Fripp has been so close to a Prodigy Pass so many times before. He looks to the inside, down through the final corner. Rear end comes around on him. He loses some speed. Rogers holds on.
Still side by side into turn 1, and he commits harder, makes the move happen. Rogers is going to pull the switchback, though, and Rogers is going to get it back. That was 3 switchbacks in 3 corners. Eternally frustrating for Dakota Fripp to end up losing out on that. And poor old Jared Davis on his own, flying off the road in turn 1.
It's brought him closer to the likes of Otto, Dos Santos, Nakagawa. There are plenty of battle packs through the field right now. That's what makes the sort of racing so interesting as well. If you find yourself out of track position, as we've called out before, it's not as easy to pass as maybe some of the other tracks on the iRacing service. There is your race leader, by the way, who has got a 5.5 second lead, not even halfway into this 30-minute race. By no means is he coasting, Joey, but he can't afford to be a little bit more careful with some of the traffic up in front.
Yeah. He's got lap traffic coming up. That's how crazily dominant he's been. Caleb Gray is just a couple seconds up the road, and Brandon Hartline just a couple seconds up of that. We're not even halfway through this race yet, and Olivier Piatek is going to have to navigate a little bit of traffic he didn't expect to navigate. I assume it's going to be fairly straightforward. Those two guys have no reason to really fight with him. I assume they'll pull over and be nice, but you never know.
Blue flags on iRacing are informational only, to be fair. So
exactly,
it's not the requirement like they have in F1. It's 3 corners and get out of the way there. No such concerns here. Nicholas Rice-Puto saying, I think about Olivier Piatek, that he is an alien, which is what we use in the sim racing world to describe someone whose speed is otherworldly, as one may assume from the name. But it also sometimes describes someone who has spent a lot of time in sim racing, right, Joey? And this goes back to what we've been talking about a little bit, right? This event opens doors for both those who don't have sim rigs at home to get access to this sort of an opportunity, but it also allows the people like Olivier Piatek, who have a very capable sim racing rig at their home, to join competitions like this and have to adapt to the discomfort. Dakota Fripp makes his move on Tristan Rogers, and it's finally done and dusted.
Yeah, that was clean. I don't think Rogers is going to be able to switch that one back. Fripp did a good job of parking that car on the apex second half of the turn 10 chicane. He will do his best to look forward now and not worry about the hornet's nest of cars behind him. Ben Nelson in the grass out of the final corner. Paul Darling is on the scene as well. Fripp can't afford to look in his rearview mirror right now. He needs to look up at Soto, try and start catching him, because I have a feeling things are about to start kicking off in this battle for fourth.
Soto is potentially going to be able to, now having broken the draft through that move, run away. We will have to just wait and see. These are also not positions that necessarily mean the most on track, but there are drivers out there still fighting for all they are worth. Raiden Otto, Carl Lowe, Hugo Dos Santos, and oh my goodness, that was close.
That was a heck of a wheelie from Hugo Dos Santos. It's the kind of thing, you know, you drive a little bit south to Jersey City, you probably see that in the middle of the night on some of those roads. He's doing it in good old Westfield. Good for him.
That was very, very close. Too close for comfort, if you ask me, but that's just a sign of a driver pushing. Here's another look at it. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Someone needs
having a little bit of fun out there.
Clip that and add that sound effect, yes.
A little bit of wee. I'm sure he'd like that.
Ethan Hanshu.
And then maybe somebody can tell us who the face on the back of his car is as well.
That would be nice. Ethan Hanshu passes Jordan Nikoric. He's up to 12th position, meaning a good fight back from him so far, but it's not done. He's now got 4 queued up in front of him in that fight that we've been keeping our eyes on. Otto, Lowe, Dos Santos, and Nakagawa. Race lead update, by the way. 6.5 seconds now, the margin for Olivier Piatek.
Yeah, I think 10 is going to happen. I think that's my conservative estimate. Maybe 12, maybe 10. I think 10 is going to be the way to go. Ethan Hanshu, I think it's going to be not a similar limit to him. I think he can make it up to P7, honestly. If he can make quick work of these 4 guys in front of him and then chase down Jared Davis, I think he might be able to make P7 happen.
It's been a really interesting format, and again, if you were not around when we showed the beautiful graphic with all the different locations, here's a quick look at that. 16 sim centers, 2 in Canada, the rest scattered mostly around central and eastern US, with a couple out in California as well. All these drivers had to go in person to these sim centers, set a lap time, and be fast enough to qualify for this event as well. So, Joey, not only are they there racing today, they had to go there and qualify as well.
And in a strange bit of irony, the driver in the dominant lead is the driver who's racing closest to Road Atlanta. He's over in Peachtree Corners, another Atlanta suburb, just about 20 minutes down the road from Brazelton, where Road Atlanta is in real life. So, home court advantage. Don't normally have that in the virtual world, but maybe Olivier does.
Nicholas Rice-Puto has just said, add a sim center to Florida, please. So, clearly, there's a demand for some of these drivers who want to be a part of the Prodigy Racing League community to also find themselves in a sim center. And you mentioned Spec MX5. That's the kind of world that Nicholas Rice-Puto has been around as well. done some Spec Racer Ford action too, if I remember correctly. You called out Dakota Fripp catching up to second, though, and Joey, guess what? Here he is.
Time for the battle for second. It's time for the battle for basically every spot in the top 6 here. I thought there was going to be a little bit of separation, but Fripp has kind of brought Rogers and Nelson and Darling with him, and it's becoming a 5-way battle for second. There's a little bit of lap traffic involved as well. It's a little bit confusing. Heartlines here. Caleb Gray is about to get involved with this as well. No positions changed in the top 4, but everybody navigating through Brandon Hartline, trying to make sure he doesn't slow up any progress either.
Again, that lap traffic under no obligation to pull out of the way, but you'd expect them to not make life too difficult. We ride with Darling at the back of the queue. Oh, a little bit unsettled there on entry was the lap traffic. And so Hartline watches as 2 squeeze past his right-hand side in towards the S's. This has dropped these 2 slightly away from the fight for a podium position as Dakota Fripp just gets closer and closer. Ethan Hanshu, by the way, now fighting with Gavin Nakagawa down through the S's.
He's not going to get away with that. Cut the corner. He's going to get a slowdown for that. He's going to have to let Mr. Nakagawa back by him. And he's going to try and do that in the least time-losingest way possible, to invent a word there. Doesn't let him by into turn 6. Into turn 7. He's going to be running out of time to do this. Did he somehow avoid getting a slowdown for that? He cut an entire part of the track and made a move, and I think he may have gotten away without a slowdown.
Or he did well enough to serve the slowdown without losing the position. Great driving from Ethan Hanshu there, if that's the case. Slightly forward to find Kyle Lowe. He's on the back of Braden Otto. Ethan Hanshu and Nakagawa are not done. Oh, someone's gone straight on. Oh, that's his trouble. Jordan Nickerick's now watching his inside mirror as wheel to wheel down towards the line they go once again, with the new iRacing 3D grass blocking our camera view for a second. Oh, lots of contact. Wondering if that's going to happen now in the fight for second. Dakota Fripp is there.
Yeah, that was Nakagawa who went off in front of Hanshu, by the way, so I wonder if they made a little bit of contact at the end of the straight that ended up forcing him off the road that far. Fripp and Soto have both been pretty clean, though, so I can't imagine that's going to happen. Let's see what did happen. Nakagawa, oh my goodness. There was a lapped car, I think, getting out of the way there, and Nakagawa got a little bit of target fixation. Got by him, but missed the braking zone because he was too focused on the lap car and had to throw it through the middle of the track not to bowl Hanshu out of the way.
There was a braking zone there. He did a good job to minimize the chaos that could have been caused as a result of that, let's be honest. Clock is ticking down. 3, 2, 1. 20 minutes complete, 10 left to go, and Piatek has got a 9-second advantage. It will be more than 10 by the time the checker drops, if you now ask me. Meanwhile, Darling, Nelson, that's close, down to the line, but Darling gets it done, up to 5th.
Good stuff. They spent a little bit too much time battling, though, and I think that's going to take them out of the fight for 3rd and 4th, fight for the podium. Darling's going to get a top 5. That's a nice thing for him, but yeah, running side by side through here takes up so much of your time, especially when it's through these highest speed portions of the track. Running side by side through the S's, you might lose 3 seconds coming down the hill because you're already going at such an aggressive rate of speed when you're on your own. Running side by side with someone, forcing an entire other half of the track to be opened up, you're going to lose so much time, and that's the trade-off you have to make, and that's why turn 10's the best place to make a move. You can clear the car, get back on the throttle, lose minimal time, but none of these guys in the top 4 have been able to do that yet.
If we do this again, by the way, Joey, there are plenty of names that we have seen for the first time today that hope we get to see again, because it's been clear since day one of the Prodigy Racing League that the talent can be found across the sim racing world. And while we had 100,000 competitors in our first season of esports, that's only the tip of the iceberg, right? There's still a lot more talent for us to uncover, and there's plenty of drivers joining us for their first PRL finals who will hopefully not make this their last.
Yeah, only 100,000 people. It's not just the tip of the iceberg, it's the tip of the world. We got 8 billion people in the world.
Whoa.
Paul Darling's trying to meet some of them as he throws it off, or Tristan Rogers, rather, tries to meet some of them as he throws it off the road into turn 1, but I think think we can get 7 billion more people involved in Prodigy. There's plenty of places we haven't gone yet.
Yeah, well, don't forget that it's not just the hardcore sims where you can get your PRL fix. Street Kart Racing, download it on the Apple App Store. There's been a handful of Prodigy Pass winners that have emerged from that platform, including the likes of Lawrence Beerton, professional 737 pilot, now representing Guild in the P2 Championship next year, who have come from that platform and never actually been on a sim rig. Looking to the inside for Hugo Dos Santos. That does not work out on Kyle Lowe, but instead, Ethan Hanshu says, thank you very much. You opened the door for me. I'll grab 9th away from you as a car slides into the wall. That's Brandon Hartline.
Poor Brandon. He's had a tough day. He's just been trying to hold on side by side for second for the first time, though. Dakota Fripp finally able to actually go for a move, and the first time he gets the opportunity, he's done a great job of taking it. He's up to second, and Soto's not going to be close enough to go for a move into turn 1. We know Soto's good at the psychological game, though. If he can stick the nose to the inside of Fripp at a scary place, that's exactly how he got by Hanshu in race 1. Might be how he needs to get by Fripp.
I think a lack of urgency from Dakota Fripp. Maybe just because of the margin up front, he knew that he wanted to make the move, but there was no real need to force it sooner rather than later. There is no closing what is an 11-second advantage for Olivier Piatek, who's in his own country right now. He might as well live in his own world. No traffic to deal with as well for the remainder of the race is the assumption. And so he will cross back to the line. Less than 6 minutes will be left to run. About 6 laps left on the board as well. Back over in the fight for second, which has now started to stack up once again, Joey, as Ben Nelson, Paul Darling join the queue.
I think 10 seconds was too conservative. Piatek might make it up to 15 seconds, but that all depends if Soto can catch back up to Fripp and make that battle yet again. If not, it's going to be the battle for 4th or 5th or 6th even, with Ben Nelson to the back of the queue here. Everybody's quite stratified, though. We had all those tandems, we had all those battles going. Now 4/10, 6/10, full seconds separate everybody. The closest is going to be Darling and Rogers, the 2 super lap cars, right there for 4th. Darling was not in 5th earlier. He lost positions, throwing it off the road a little bit earlier. He wants to at least get to be where he started this race. At least get up to 4th. Maybe knock Rogers out of the way.
The advantage of running the single Porsche GT3, as well, that's Paul Darling getting a bit haywire out through turn 5. The advantage of running just this one GT3 as opposed to all GT3 cars available is we don't have to discuss those 3 letters that anyone in sports car racing wants to avoid. BOP, balance of performance. But it's also a car that is quite unique in its driving style, maybe, and so you wonder if some of these competitors, if they head to one of the other tournaments, we have a iRacing tournament that's coming to its conclusion right now, that's using the Radical SR8, that might benefit some of these drivers a little bit more. Something for them to think about in their PRL journeys. This is the fight for 8th position. Carl Lowe's got a feisty Ethan Hanshu on his case.
And I don't think Ethan's going to be too troubled by Kyle here. He's going to go to the outside. He's going to be as late on the brakes as humanly possible. And he's going to be able to move it around the outside of Lowe, get the inside through the second half of the chicane. Got the throttle up. Got the inside through the final corner. And that is a straightforward move for Ethan Hanshu.
Oh.
Only other driver he might have a chance at is Hugo Dos Santos has some trouble through the final corner. 7 seconds separate Davis and Hanshu. Only 3 laps left. I don't think Hanshu's going to be able to catch him, but I have a feeling he's going to try.
Let's keep an eye on his lap times now. He's got some clean air. Can he match your race leader, Olivier Piatek, and make a bit of a statement to everybody, to himself as well? And the pace was there. Fastest lap of the race, if you are curious, by the way. Let me see if I can pop that up on your screen. 3:35 for Piatek, 19:335 that is. There's only 2 other drivers in the 119s. Dakota Fripp, Tristan Rogers, and, 3, Ben Nelson as well. So just a bit of a timing representation of what that gap is. 2/10 has been the tire fall off in about 27 minutes of racing. He's got 3 laps left to go at the front of the field.
thing that separates the best drivers in the field from the ones that are good but not quite on this level. Olivier has so many laps, not only at this track but everywhere in this kind of machinery. You see it into turn 1. He's got the left side tires in the grass. You'll see it here through turn 5. Sends it not entirely over the curb. Doesn't get as far right as some other drivers have been getting. He knows every millimeter of this track because he's completed thousands of laps around here. And that's the difference between a pro sim racer like this and just a driver who is very fast but not as precise every single lap as a driver like this.
And I called out, this is a track in particular where he would have done plenty of laps as well. The iRacing Petit Le Mans is one of the most popular special events of the year, and it draws thousands to race around this wonderful track for 10 hours, often in teams of 2. That was another illustration of exactly what this driver is doing as he opened up the chicane. He is running the limits of the track without a shadow of a doubt. 2 laps left to go. Let's flick through the field very quickly. Carl Lowe, Jordan Nickerick, Hugo De Santos there fighting for 9th position right now. A little bit further back after Braden Otto got involved in a couple of moments. He's got Gavin Nakagawa and Deacon Greenfield not far behind. And I can tell you that Michael Polasek on the recovery, he's behind Anthony Callaway.
That's why you never give up. That's what Ethan Hanshu's been able to recover very well. Polasek sends it to the inside, and that's another step on his recovery. Got to be careful with Callaway to the inside, and he wasn't actually able to make the move. He was almost clear, but Callaway still had a nose to the inside, was able to save that. Polasek not driving with a totally clean car like Hanshu, by the way. You see heavy damage on the front end. He hit solid concrete on lap 1. So the fact that he's been able to drive up to 16th, maybe even 15th, that's still a remarkable recovery for Polasek.
Anthony Stella, we saw some of his fans in chat earlier on. He's still in this little battleground, maximizing as much as they can the line through yeses for what is the penultimate time, because here comes Olivier Piatek to the line, white flag in hand, 1 more lap at Road Atlanta for the driver not far away. The fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Well, Dakota Fripp has pulled away, but Soto, Rogers, Darling, and Nelson, 1 more lap between them to see who can grab the final step on the podium.
See if we see any desperation. Super lap 3, 4, 5, pretty good representation for them, but each one of them will want to be the lead representative if there's anything to be taken from this last lap. Callaway, I think he's going to lose out this time. Polasek does actually get to his inside. He's going to be much later on the brakes this time, and he is clear into turn 10. Does he have the straight line speed with that damaged front end to hold on for 1 more lap? He's going to try his best. 15th place from a wreck on lap 1. It's not half bad.
I think some of these drivers also being just a bit careful about the incident limit. We've had, I think, 2 disqualifications as a result of that. And the rest of the drivers still with a lap to go, trying to avoid any sort of drama. We've seen a whole range of emotions, from nonchalance to disbelief to the elation of realizing the pro racing dream is that much closer. Olivier Piatek will head out of the final corner, winner in the Prodigy Racing League Sim Center Golden Ticket Final, and headed to Prodigy Week in 2025. It's sinking in right now, but Joey, the dream is coming true.
There it is. There's the emotion. 17-year-old driver at his home track in Atlanta. He's still pushing. He's making sure it's the end of the race. But I think he's well aware. 12-second gap at the end of it all, and he even backed out a little bit coming through the final corner to celebrate. That was total dominance from Olivier. Nobody was coming close to him.
No one was coming close to him, and like you say, he's not done pushing. He does not know how to roll back the speed.
Does he know it's the final lap?
I hope so. Because everyone else has started to return to pit lane.
He's like, oh, I got a 40-second lead now. Yippee.
Oh, we'll chat with him in a few moments' time. It will be a good chat as well, I have no doubt. Dakota Fripp and Russell Soto will stand 2nd and 3rd on the podium as well. But we're still waiting. I'm hoping, are we going to see some burnouts? Are we going to see something? I mean, there's a clear reason why he's gone all the way back around.
He was talking to somebody on the side of his screen. They must have told him it's over. But no, here he comes through the final corner. I don't know. You want to call the finish again, Arjuna? He thought there was another lap.
He thought my call of the finish wasn't good enough. He gave me another go at it.
Exactly.
We'll see. Is it going to be burnout time? Will he start celebrating? There is a traction control off button on these cars.
No.
Instead,
what was the point?
Instead,
take the win away. Disqualify him.
He deprives us. How dare he? Hoping
Unbelievable.
he won't deprive us of the chance to chat with him. Let's grab a look at the results. Then we'll go catch up with our Prodigy Pass winner. It's a 12-second advantage. 30 minutes of racing, 23 laps later at Road Atlanta, and Dakota Fripp for Circuit Sim Racing comes so close once again. Russell Soto leads the trio of Super Lap entries in front of Tristan Rogers and Paul Darling, with Benjamin Nelson and then Jared Davis, Ethan Hanshu, Carlo, and Jordan Nickerick. You've got to give a shout out, by the way, to Ethan Hanshu. He'll be frustrated, no doubt, but the fight back, he is one to watch. 11th for Hugo Dos Santos. Brayden Otto was right behind him, with Gavin Nakagawa and Deacon Greenfield in close pursuit. Michael Polasek, Anthony Callaway, and Anthony Stella, alongside of Rodolfo Vargas, Mark Rivera, and Austin Aponte, all on the lead lap. Cannot be said, unfortunately, for the likes of Aaron Ramon, Caleb Gray, Jason Holloway, Brandon Hartline, and Miles Brown. Good chance for us to grab a look at those race results, but let's not hang around too much longer. Let's bring in our Prodigy Pass winner. It's Olivier Piatek. Olivier, congratulations. You're headed to Prodigy Week in 2025. How does it feel?
Thank you. I mean, it's an incredible feeling. I mean, just I didn't have enough time to practice with finals for school and all this stuff, so I really only had a few hours coming into this event to practice, so it's an incredible feeling to bring home the win in such a tough field.
Now, this is something Joanny and I were kind of joking a little bit about, but you've got a great sim rig at home, but a great sim rig over there, I know, at Talk Motorsports as well. What's it like for you having to shift gears and get used to this sim rig, like you mentioned, with limited prep?
I mean, it's quite difficult, but it's something you have to adapt to. So, especially I had a 9-hour endurance race yesterday, so to turn around and go into a complete different sim rig with zero time to really transfer over was very difficult, but thankfully we had a two-hour practice session prior to the race today, and that really helped me.
I know you had the chance to watch a little bit about the P3 journey for some of the drivers, so you've seen behind the scenes. What are you going to be doing in the build-up to Prodigy Week to get yourself ready for this opportunity?
I mean, just a lot of hours in the sim, just trying to get my physical fitness to like the perfect point, and just really doing everything I need to, looking what others did and looking what worked for others and doing the same for myself.
Congratulations, Olivier. We'll see you at Prodigy Week later on this year.
Thank you. Can't wait.
Can't wait to see him out in action as well. A good opportunity to catch up with our race winner and Prodigy Pass winner. Let's see if Joey Tebben can catch up with Dakota Fripp as well.
Dakota Fripp coming home second with a 12-second gap up to Olivier Piatek. Does this feel like a little bit of a win in and of itself to come home second?
To be honest, not really. You know, I think early on in the race, you know, I had contact with Russell, and you know, that was unfortunate. I think that's really what cost my race today. So, you know, try to better next time.
You did have a couple of great moves there. Into turn 10, you finally got by Russell. What were you doing for the 10 minutes before that? Was that all about studying, forcing him into a mistake? What finally made the difference that allowed you to get by him?
Yeah, I mean, Russell wasn't making any obvious mistakes, so, you know, I was just, you know, waiting for the right moment to just kind of go for the overtake, just like with the other guys. You know, just when I was close enough, and then I just kind of went for it there, you know?
That was a great move, and second place, highly impressive all day long. Congrats on a podium, and hopefully we'll see you next time, Dakota.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Dakota Fripp, Arjuna. Not happy with second, which is maybe a good thing. Every driver wants to be the winner, and next time he's gonna hope it's him.
I think that's the thing. Disappointment with second place. That's what this is all about. Always wanting to get to the top, to be part of that E2Real journey. It was great to have the support of these 16 sim centers of virtualtoreality.tv as well, bringing this event to us for the first time. And Joey, hopefully not the last. It was great to get the band back together as well here in the broadcast booth.
It was, and we've got many requests for sim centers next time. People in the YouTube chat want one in Florida. we'll open one up in Stamford, Connecticut. I'll do the broadcast live from there. Who knows what's gonna happen? Middle of the country, West Coast. You wanted that too, Arjuna? Get one in Idaho. Get about 500 in China. We'll start ticking off those extra billion people.
Yeah, I've got to get myself over to Shift Arcade sooner rather than later, given that it's not far away from me. But that might be something to do in the weekends to come. For now, it's time for us to bid you farewell. What a day. We'll take a look at some of the highlights as we say goodbye as well. What a remarkable event. 16 sim centers, drivers from all across the country, the continent, if you will, competing for their dream. The chance for a Prodigy Pass to send them to Prodigy Week in 2025. Joey Tebben alongside of myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Thanks so much for your company on the Prodigy Racing League channels. We've got another set of finals coming up in a month's time, so make sure you join us on June 22nd. But for the team behind the scenes, for everyone that made this possible, thanks for joining us. Congratulations to Olivier Piatek, headed to Prodigy Week in 2025, the winner of the very first Prodigy Racing League SimCenter Golden Ticket Finals here on iRacing.
Should we go to this meeting?
Yeah. Let me just get a snack first.
Snack? I brought a snack.
Oh, that's okay. I'm good.
Oh, no. I got this. Told you I brought a snack.
There's a better way to eat pickles on the go. Sucker Punch, the snack with a snap.
Bailar?
Bailar.
Bailar. Yo bailo.
Bailo con gracia. Bailo como si no hubiera un mañana. Ahora la lengua me baila con paso.
Rosetta Stone's language learning tools may just be too immersive.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We're about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy 3 Championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy 2 and then the Prodigy 1 Championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.